Hello, SMITE fans, and welcome back to another day of SMITE Esports here with the SMITE Challenger Circuit on this lovely Thursday morning here in Alpharetta, Georgia. My name is J Max Tucker. I've got Gormeister joining me as we kick off our second week of the SCC. We're going to be starting it off in EU, and then we're going to have some of our good old NA games going on later on. Like I said, I'm J Max. I got Gore with me here. For our first set of the day, we're going to have the Styx Ferrymen up against the Gilded Gladiators. Two big houses here in the EU scene.
Yeah, I'm really excited to watch this one specifically just because, and we'll get into this a little bit more, but the Ferrymen didn't show up week one the way that I thought they would. And so that's one that I think is really interesting. I'm also interested because Europe last week was all 2-0s. North America, maybe I want to say like a little more competitive, I guess is the term for it, because they all go 3 games. Whether or not like some of them needed to go 3 games is a different discussion. But it's going to make things really interesting. And it's been fun looking at like all the numbers, like different gods that are kind of showing up in the SCC that are either still being played or prominent in the SBL or maybe not so much.
Well, let's take a look at the European schedule, since that's where we're going to be starting out here today. We'll have the Gilded Gladiators and the Styx Ferrymen, and then later on, the Niflheim Wargs versus the Highland Ravens. And I know that we've already had our week of like gushing about all these logos and stuff, but man, once we got to see the full screen of some of these logos, these are all really sick. The team has outdone themselves here with these ones out. But talking about this very first one, then obviously later on in the week we'll also have our final with the Ari Scorpions and the Hex Mambo. That one's going to be happening tomorrow before the SPL at 11 a.m. So make sure you tune in for that one too to get the full EU experience. But let's talk about our first 2 teams up here, the Styx Ferrymen and the Gilded Gladiators. Talking about the Ferrymen a little bit and kind of how, maybe touching a little bit further upon what you're saying, not quite showing up to the level of expectation. Azrael, Ice Ice, Gunner, Oki on a streak of a lot of big names in the scene, but unfortunately they fell down, I believe it was an 0-2 last week.
That's exactly what it is, right? When you follow it and it's like, okay, there's these huge names and you've got this team that has to do really well. They were playing up against the Wargs, which, maybe isn't the easiest matchup in Europe. I mean, look again, it's another really stacked squad. But I think it was surprising how much ended up going in favor of the Wargs. I think early on, and you'll see this, a lot of early kills and a lot of impact from Ice Ice very early in the games. But as the length went on, the less impact we got to see from the team. So I think their early game is down pat, and you've got a really, really adept jungler at being able to nail exactly that style of play. It's just transitioning it into the team fights where I think some of that was starting to lack. And I think that's where, realistically, this week I want to see them kind of bolster up. I think that's going to be their best chance for success, is playing into those late games, whether it's with a late game comp or if it's just getting ahead early and maintaining that lead. That's all they really need to change. I feel like a 2-0, or at least last week when they lost, was probably one that's not going to happen often to this team. It feels like one that should be able to at least push us to 3, even in a loss.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of our EU teams out here are very competitive between each other. Sometimes, though, you just do get those misfortunate mishaps against other teams here where you do drop down to an 0-2. Even though it was very close games across the board here. But they are going up against the Gilded Gladiators, a team that did get a 2-0 last week. Formerly known, if you're unfamiliar with our new team names and you kind of want to go, well, who were these guys last time that we ever saw them? It was the old Just F6 roster over here. Lestemix, Maskill, Sodos, Rotwin, Toddy, a team that had to go the full distance before they could qualify in, but coming into their first week, were able to find their 2-0 win. And a lot of that really coming off the back of Sodos. This is a player who came out to the scene. We saw some very odd picks come out of him, especially this Soul over here into the mid lane, but he has really been running with it.
That's actually really interesting because they played Soul, Fenrir, and Ganesh both games, so like a really good 3-man core that they kept from game 1 to game 2. And this is a team, like you said, they've just been working really hard to get to this point. They've grown incredibly as a team, and also Mastkill got a pentakill in the first game of so phase 1, day 1, game one of the SCC year. And he comes out with a pentakill. It's quite literally impossible to live up to that standard over and over and over again, because from this point forward, this is what's expected from you. I know we had a long conversation, I think it was late last year, I believe, when Maskill got picked up, and it was this conversation around the fact that he is gonna be the guy. He's gonna be the dude that they pick up, and he's going to change this team, right? All of a sudden, the jungle is gonna be able to pop off. For the first couple of weeks, it was better, but it still wasn't like the performance we wanted to see. And we knew that there was a high end for it because we'd seen it. Every now and then, Just F6 just had ridiculously good games. The problem was always consistency. And then they found the consistency. Here in Season 9, they've been able to nail it so far. So 2-0 for them last week, again, with a brilliant performance out of the jungle and, as you specified, out of the mid lane as well. I think this is a team that is a huge threat in Europe now.
Yeah, I mean, this team has really adapted to kind of the old Elysium playstyle, more towards the NA meta as well. I mean, these guys came in during the SPL qualifier stages. Sure, they didn't qualify into the SPL, obviously, because they're down here in the SCC. But this is a team that came in day one, and they struggled really hard up against these NA teams because it's just like, wow, we are not used to seeing this playstyle at all. We are not used to these people just W-keying us from minute one of the game. But they have adapted to this playstyle very well. They've been able to really hone in on what this new current meta is, and they've been able to run really well with it and compete up here with some of the top teams score.
Yeah, it makes me excited to see what they are going to have to offer today, I think, just because of what this team has been able to do. And like you said, I actually think coming in for the play-ins is maybe even more of a benefit than it seems, because like you said, even though you don't qualify, they got so many LAN games, so much experience playing against a lot of top teams that it makes things even more interesting. The thing is going to be how well these teams did their homework. Again, only 1 week of data. When you have one set and both games only went 2, there's not as much to dive into other than, hey, we know this team played these gods twice, and we know these are the popular bans against this team after a single week, right? Like, Kabrakan was a relatively big deal. I think in Europe, you can see like the Agni, the Bastet, the Jormungandr as well has been a big talking point, even though we haven't gotten to see it too often. And I expect that's going to stay similar probably through this week, and then into next week we'll start to see some shift-ups.
And I imagine after the weeks continue to go on, we're going to see this soul ban become a much more regular occurring thing here up against this team specifically, you know, the Gilded Gladiators, that is. Styx Ferrymen will take away the Soul, Serket, and Khepri as their first 3 bans. And for the first 3 bans on the side of the Gladiators, Jormungandr, Kleena, and Bastet. No surprise there, top picks across the board. Especially this Jormungandr over in EU, they really seem to love this god more than anything else in a solo lane. They're not playing it like the traditional solo lane god, though. They're building this like full damage style Guardian. But things that aren't uncommon, at least here, is going to be Medusa. That's going to be the first pick on the side of the Ferrymen. The Gladiators will grab Fenrir and Chiron. So Fenrir back over for Mass Kill again.
That's scary. And it brings so much to the table, too. Mass Kill played 2 brilliant Fenrir games last week. And that theoretically should assume, okay, this is going to be a jungle pick. But it's still flexible, and some people even still prefer it over there in support. So having that just little bit of wiggle room, especially up against something like a Medusa where you can kind of meet aggression with aggression, it should help balance things out. Plus, they can make any sort of pivot that they want to later on throughout this draft if they feel the need to, right? Because as we can see now, especially with the Amaterasu lock-in, pretty fizz heavy, so they are going to need some magic damage, and typically that's where your Guardians come in. At least bringing a little bit of that, a really just hard-hitting mage would help balance things out as well. But this Medusa, you had mentioned, very popular, 10 games across both NA and EU, 70% win rate across both regions as well. She's good is the easy way to say it. That's just an easy first pick.
Yeah, I think saying 70% is good might be a bit of an understatement there, Cor. I mean, the fact that week 1 she comes out with that kind of win percent is absolutely crazy. It's something I talk with, I think I was talking with Trelly about it, how Medusa is this top pick god. She's one that everybody is just first picking or you're second picking if Team A doesn't grab that right there. But we never see her make her way into the ban column. It's only just a top pick. But, I mean, look at what else is being banned across the table here. I mean, Ganesh and Fafnir now on the other side for the Styx Ferrymen. Gilded Gladiators, they will take away Tiamat and Persephone with an Agni pick immediately after. So we get a look at what the 2 carries are now for the side of the Gilded Gladiators.
Now, I don't know if this helps or hurts it, but pretty much all of the losses that Medusa had from first pick. So maybe that's not exactly where you want to be. I just wanted to see what her first pick stats were going to be. So now all of a sudden it's really shifting. It's like, hey, 70%, but also, she didn't do too hot from this position. Maybe because there's chances to try and counterpick it. But realistically, I think it was just like unfortunate circumstances, teams that maybe could perform on it that didn't really get to live up to the standard. I think alongside this, presumably with the Sobek in lane, this is going to be a really strong Styx Ferryman lane.
We got Sobek Thoth on the side of the Ferryman there, and then Atlas to round out the draft here for the Gilded Gladiators. So a Chiron Atlas lane. Going to be a lot of pressure, a lot of fun over here in the EU side. Let's jump right into game number 1 between the Styx Ferrymen and the Gilded Gladiators for our first EU SCC set of the day here on this lovely Thursday. And immediately going right in, it will be, obviously, with that Atlas now locked in. Mass kill once again on his pentakill. Fenrir going up against Ice, who's gone back to his Camazotz.
And I'm excited to watch this again. We saw last week Ice very capable of getting involved early in the game on this Camazotz. But how well does that transition into the late game? You've got, I think, a much better composition around you for late game, though. Okeanos streak up, they can get aggressive pretty much from minute 1 to the end of the game. They're going to be able to be impactful on this. So I think the duo lane is a very easy pressure point for Ice. You've got an RDO, so maybe you're not looking for a ton of kill pressure over in the solo lane, although it's still going to be present because Amaterasu, especially in the first few levels, is going to be a little more susceptible to that damage. But then late game, you've got an RDO. You've got an RDO. She's got great CC. She's got good healing. And, of course, she's got great team sustain capability around her, plus the damage from Thoth. I think this is a good draft for the Ferrymen to do exactly what I was saying during Picks and Bans, which is transition into that late game squad.
Ooh, big pick up there. Toddy, though, strikes first blood on the side of the Gilded Gladiators with a nice little bit of damage from that training exercise after. And this is what we've been talking about with Atlas a lot of the time is once you've hit level 2 on this Atlas, it is nothing but pressure here. A pickup a little bit just off the mark of actually grabbing Okeanos and almost striking second here. But Gladiators on the board early in the duo lane. The Ferrymen trying to get up on the board in the solo lane, though.
Yeah, this is where things, again, can get a little awkward. You can see the damage is decent from Ferrymen, but you've still got a Guardian, right? RDO can hit pretty hard. She can control the lane, and that is something that's great. She's great in team fights, but that's going to be a lot of work for both of you to get things done. I think Camazotz specifically maybe needing well, actually he hit the level 3. Maybe it's just the item spike or maybe another level to really get that one under wraps. More realistically, I think we're going to see Ice need to put some pressure on this duo lane. I mean, you've got Sobek Medusa. This should be where your pressure is, and instead they're getting bullied.
Well, Okeanos hits the pluck over onto Rodwin. That gets him away for now, but a good giddy up, a pull back in, and another auto after Toddy. With 2 on the board now for the Gladiators. It has been non-stop here in the duo lane from second 1 walking in the lane.
I mean, this is just clean from Toddy and Rodwin. Not only the pulls, Rodwin hasn't gotten a lot of pickups. And you look at this as literally just what Mass Kill is going to do on a longer cooldown, right? It's a small Fenrir ult that he's going to be able to pull into himself. But you get good knockbacks. You're not really getting the pickup. It's just the CC, just the control, and the positioning right now that the Gladiators are leveraging in their favor. I like that they're getting aggressive here.
All right, Rodwin will pick up Okeanos, throw him back. And Okeanos trying to find a way to get a pluck just in case they need to get out here. But where the pressure has been in the duo lane for the Gladiators, solo lane is trying to make their stride on the side of the Ferrymen. Blue buff invaded, but a 1K gold lead already thanks to the efforts of Rodwin and Toddy on this left side of the map. Bluestone on the Chiron. We'll talk about that in a moment. Lestemix under fire, needs a little bit of extra health, but the tier 1 tower is not enough safety. Maybe Mass Kill can close this one out. The Brutalize hits the wrong person. Big heal, though, out of Azriel, and that'll make sure that Ice has just enough health to get away.
Although Azriel's taking a lot of minion damage at this point. Mass Kill, I don't know, it's shaky. If he can keep Azriel here, you've got the teleport from Lestemix. That should be the disengage from the Ferryman.
Jump in, stun is good. Brutalize not there to follow up, though, and a heal back in from Azriel means that they will be just fine. And in fact, Azriel fighting right back up against him. Doesn't get the kill there, but now, finally on the board is the side of the Ferryman.
That's exactly that kind of pressure I wanted to see from them. Ice being able to come over, get the damage, hits level 5 first because of that kill, and all of a sudden can be a big impact player out of the jungle. If your duo lane is not doing well, yeah, absolutely help get the RDO ahead. Thoth right now is pretty much in balance. A little bit of farm going towards Sodos that isn't quite matched up by Gunter, but otherwise, I think the Ferrymen are really starting to be a little more right-hand heavy. And I think that helps, specifically now that level 5 has happened here for Ice might need to be necessary over here in the duo lane to come over, try to not only match up in terms of experience, but really just to get him a kill to help stabilize this lane.
I do see mid lane, Ice rotating in to try and get some pressure here to help out Gunter. But Gunter has just been sitting back, getting this passive farm. Mid laners haven't had to get active just yet, whereas everything has been happening all around them. Speaking of happening all around, I was honestly
like he was going for it.
I was honestly expecting Rodwin to charge right in and just go for another kill there, but a little bit more disciplined this time around. So no fighting over into the duo lane just yet. We did see a Serpent camp picked up, and one Serpent has the dash back under the tower. This Medusa has not gotten a chance to really live freely in duo lane.
And that's the big problem, right? Only down 1 death right now. Like, the 2 kills onto Toddy is a frustration point, I think, for the Ferrymen, which is even better right now for Okeanos to be able to confirm that purple buff. Gunter's taking a lot of damage, though.
But Sotos throws out 2 bombs. Final Judgment. Not going to find anybody this time. Gunter missing out. Plucked by Okeanos. Hits Sotos. Sotos takes a couple of those hieroglyphic shots there. Centaurus comes out from Toddy to get some damage. Sotos hasn't found a path out just yet. Will dance through and blink by Okeanos. And the evade and punished by Gunter will put Sotos in the dirt.
Making sure to catch him off guard. If you're going to invade, that's going to be the chances, right? You have to be able to get out of there, and I think it was just unfortunate timing. Sotos like almost having the stun. Good blink from the Sobek, and they got a good pluck.
Rotwin does have the charge to get out, but a good tail whip. And then the damage after, streak up.
Mass
Puts
kill.
this Ferryman up with another one. Mass kill jumps in, picks up Ice Ice, pulls him under the tower, but that bat out of hell ready for Ice Ice. That'll not get them out. There was still a tower shot chasing.
That sucks. There's so many, I don't know any other way to describe it. That just sucks for Ice Ice. There is no other way. Oh my God, chasing him down, and that's the bright side of Bat Out of Hell. Hey, I'm out of trouble. The downside of Bat Out of Hell, specifically under a tower, and specifically under these now buffed towers, yeah, it's gonna hurt if that tower shot chases you. Just like unfortunate timing for him that shot fires like right as he's still targetable and chases him down under the buff. But better for mass kill. I mean, look, you're losing that fight otherwise. You at least get something for it, and he goes 1 for 1 with his ult.
We'll make it 3-3 now, as far as the board is concerned. Rotwin will get plucked back. Looking at the gold, it's pretty much dead even here, 6.5 minutes in, and a lot of action going through.
Yeah.
Even XP sitting very comfortably at only 400 in the lead for the side of the Gilded Gladiators, where just earlier on, I mean, that first blood plus an extra kill had netted the Gladiators about a 1K lead. Okeanos will find the pluck on Rotwin, but that just allows Rotwin to find the pickup after. He'll throw him back, but the purple buff was the real target of the Gladiators. That one gets stolen away.
This really has been the balance. I mean, and look over at Ice Ice. Ice Ice is deep in the right-hand jungle right now, going for invades. The control for the Ferrymen has been right-hand heavy, whereas the control for the Gladiators is left-hand heavy. The duo lane is where the Gladiators are playing from. You've got a great kill from Maskill. I think his presence has been very prominent on the map, but realistically, it's this duo lane, that lead they were trying to leverage earlier, that was, pushing them forward. Going for the Transcendence kind of slowed things down for Toddy. Going to be great overall at the end. Rotwin might be in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, Rotwin's already thrown out his 2 abilities, has nothing left for the escape. That'll be Gunter going with the big punish, big kill right after to put a 4th one up for the Ferrymen. But we are still seeing some light of these supports trying to go for these obelisk plays, steal a couple of offerings away, and that time around, Sotos loses the beads, but the beads don't matter. It's a final judgment from downtown out of Gunter. That'll put his 3rd kill up.
And just just a second late on the stun as well. Like, if that comes through just a little faster, that pluck doesn't even happen to begin with. You at least get to maintain your beads, but you lose the beads, you lose your life anyway. So a good shot from Gunter. And again, showcases what this team is capable of. I think that early game pressure from Gladiators could have absolutely spiraled out of control if the Ferrymen weren't replying properly. But so far, they've been able to find the pressure. They've got 2 kills onto the duo lane, specifically onto Rotwin. And they've shut down Sotos pretty concisely enough to make sure that this Thoth has a very palpable lead. I mean, 2 levels up, 3-0, has at least a little bit more gold at this point, in hand, so that he can go forward with it, and is out farming them by almost 1,000. So realistically, this is going to start paying off as time goes on, because this Thoth is going to hit incredibly hard by the end of this game.
And you can see that's where pretty much all the lead is here for the Styx Ferrymen. Maskill goes in with the brutalized Basriel. We'll shake that one off. It's now a 3 versus 2 as Listemics has been poked out. Rotwin will pick up 1, throw Azrael under the tower, but use that charge to get out. Meanwhile, Okeanos goes back in, bomb stun out of Sotos, and 1 more bomb will take down Okeanos after the rotation from the mids is good. Now, it's a 4 versus 3 as the Gladiators continue pushing in. With all this peppering fire from Gunter, no shot, the Gladiators keep going.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the Gladiators, I want to say, pull back. It was like that balance of cooldowns once again, where it's like you're in a great chance to potentially surge forward and take a big fight for yourselves. Same thing for here in the dual lane. Streak Up might get the better end of Toddy. Both have their ults available, though, and that can change a lot.
Toddy just waiting for that cooldown to come back for that second ability. Will throw out the training exercise and not find anything there. But now that Rotwin is here, that should be the escape plan for the duo lane carry out of the Gilded Gladiators. But a lot of ring around the rosy there, a ring around the stone, I should say, Nothing going to come up there. No ults, no relics used.
I honestly expected the 1v1 to start. Like, I thought that it was going to be like 2-3 seconds, and then Toddy was going to hit the go button. I mean, you've got an ult that makes you death immune. The worst case scenario is if you get stunned and you have to use your bead. So, again, grand scheme, probably better to just not take that fight because you'd have to use all of your utility to win it. But it would have been flashy and it would have looked cool. So, you know, that's where my mind's at. Either way, the farm game's still going in their favor. They finish this Transcendence. I expect Toddy's about to hit incredibly hard soon. Now that that's stacked up, that's a good power spike for them. But with the next couple of items, we're really going to get to see this Chiron come online to a really different hard hitter than what we're going to see out of this Medusa.
Over the wall by Maskill. Will find Ice on the pickup. Drop him inside of a couple of bombs, but Bad out of Hell will make sure to get Ice up in the sky. Maskill and Rotwin both on the run from Okeanos. That extra little boost of slow immunity cleanse there that comes from Rotwin allows him and Mask to run themselves on out. A lot of scrapping, but only a few ultimates used there. Ice and Maskill the most notable of them.
Yeah, I think going ult for ult with the Camazotz probably feels pretty good for Maskill. He should have his ult a little bit quicker than the Camazotz specifically, but you have to be able to grab him in that timer, right? Like, you have to be able to, in the, 10 seconds different, make sure you get Ice while he doesn't have beads. If level 12 happens before Maskill gets that ult back, then it's all kind of for naught anyway. It just feels weird because there's not a good target. You grab Azrael, Gunter, Streak up, they've got beads up right now. You burn them, then theoretically you have an opportunity in the next couple of minutes. You go for Sobek, well, he's already died twice. Is that really your high priority target? Not really. So you want to go for Ice, but Bad out of Hell just gets him out so cleanly every time.
Gold Fury started and completely shredded by the side of the Gladiators. Not even a moment for the Ferrymen to recollect themselves to get back here to try and even stop this one. Gilded Gladiators will put the first objective on the board. And Gore, I just thought of one of the silliest, but one of the coolest little interactions we could possibly see. I'm just imagining Rotwin picking somebody up on this Atlas and throwing him to the jaws of Maskill and Ragnarok, like an owner tossing his dog a ball at that point. that's just the picture that stuck in my mind for a moment, and now I just want to see it.
That'd be fun. And, I think we've even talked about that, in the past, what kind of CC combos you can do, especially if you get a pickup. There's a Beads Force out of Streak Up. But, you grab someone, just the capabilities to CC them is insane.
Pick up onto Rotwin. Rotwin will throw out the ultimate, but Rotwin doesn't have that dash any longer. Streak Up credited to the kill for the Styx Ferrymen. They put their 6th one up on the board, and they'll completely diminish that gold gain that at least came from the Gladiators. Back to a dead even state here, 1,000 XP up for the Styx Ferrymen, but at this point in game, 1,000 XP is really not all that much.
Yeah, you can see it's manifesting itself into a level lead for Sotos, or not Sotos, for Gunter specifically over Sotos, and a little bit of a lead now for Streak Up, but not a huge one.
Sotos probably won't make it out of this one. The dash is already down, the stun is gone. Okeanos will toss Sotos right to his own hands. He'll grab that sickening strike right after and pick up a kill for the support this time around. Styx Ferrymen continue to pump the kills on the board.
And I think, again, little plays like that, that's where the big pressure points are. We're talking so much about Sotos from last week. That Soul, it gets banned away. This Agni right now, admittedly leaving a lot to be desired. I think so far the damage has been okay, right? It's keeping up with Thoth for the most part, but the damage vastly different in terms of its application. Thoth has been getting kills. He's 3-0. Sotos has been setting up stuns, been, playing that kind of peel and getting some decent damage out there, but it's not sticking to anybody and not really providing a lot of, kill potential, kill thresholds for the Gladiators. So realistically, I think that this is a good pressure point for the Ferrymen to continue leaning on, try to put that pressure on specifically Sotos, because we've seen how big of an impact player they are, and I think if you get rid of that damage or make it feel too uncomfortable to apply, all of a sudden Maskill has a harder time, Lystimix has a harder time, and Toddy theoretically will still have good damage late game, but we'll still have a hard time finding those kills as easily.
Ice.
That's a lot of damage.
Trying to have a boxing match at max range with another mage and is losing that boxing match. A nice little stylish jump over the first bomb, I will admit, and then immediately after, Sotos just says, okay, are we really just going to play this game? Such as Rotwin saying, oh, we're going to play this game with Okeanos, who does manage to get into Lurking the Waters before the Ragnarok can connect. And Okeanos will go back in, picking up Rotwin with that pluck, but Rotwin is undeterred, and so is Toddy. Centaur's shots from a range will take out the enemy support, but a lot invested to get that kill.
Yeah, a lot invested, but you do still pull a little bit back, right? Beads are still technically down for Streak Up, which I wish we could have seen maybe more pressure onto the Medusa. But you get a kill, you pull the ult from Okeanos as well as the Gunter, and now I'm getting my wish.
Oh, Maskill will catch out that dash immediately. Does turn around in time for the Petrify. The boxing will go the way of Maskill. And Gunter doesn't have that final judgment to try and answer back. So Maskill will answer your wish there. You're saying, hey, we want pressure on Medusa? Maskill says, all right, bet, we'll go on Medusa.
I mean, it was the same problem I was going to say earlier, where it's just like, cool, you grabbed Okeanos. Okeanos is keeping up in level. It's not like they're a nothing kill. But when you kill the support, typically in my mind, you want a team fight afterward. You want something big. You want to go for an objective of some sort, and there weren't any on the map. So killing Okeanos right then and there is just the kill. It's not really going to afford you too much else. But now you get to look at it in a really interesting way, because that kill leads into killing off Streak Up. Beads come back up for Streak Up while they're in the gray screen, but now their Aegis is going to be down for a little while. So there's more pressure that you can apply on the duo side. Might end up in like a lost Pyromancer, but there's a Primal Fury coming up. That's going to make Fire Giants a little bit easier. And I think the Gilded Gladiators, again, playing on that left-hand side of the map, has really benefited them so far. And now that you've got Beads for pretty much everyone save for Okeanos, you have to be a lot more selective with who's going for those ults. Like if Maskill's going to ult somebody, then Rotwin needs to be prepared to get them right after the beads, or vice versa. Rotwin can force out pretty easy beads. It's a small cone, but should be able to grab some people and force that uncomfortable decision. And then that opens up opportunities for Maskill. As long as they make that trade-off properly throughout this game, the Gilded Gladiators are really going to be able to concisely pick up a single kill no matter what.
It's a 4v4 grouping on this right side around the Pyromancer, but Maskill will be the first one to go back. Reprising this build that he went for last week, which is going into your first pen item, this Jotun's Wrath to get your cooldown, and then going for a more auto-attack-centric style of build. Stone-cutting sword right after, and then a serrated edge now by Maskill. This is his third game in a row doing this.
And what's weird is this is not, like, it's not the typical Fenrir go-around, right? Like, I mean, like, you might see some of these items, but, like, not often, at least in my mind, do I see these next to the Fenrir icon. So it's making things interesting, but it does create a golden opportunity, because this means for Maskill, all of these abilities are just enhancements, right? Like you can use the Brutalize instead of as pure damage. You're using it to close gap. You're trying to get closer so you can auto them down. Your stun on your leap is going to be great specifically for chasing them down and getting a few hits in. And it plays well with Fenrir's passive as well. Like something you don't talk about, but the runes getting built up from every auto. This really does allow him to kind of cycle through his abilities and autos and play with the god in an incredibly potent way that should get a lot of damage done. As of right now, I think he's still got a little work to do to get the top of the charts.
Okeanos finds the pluck onto Rotwin. Rotwin trying to find a way to walk out of here. Petrify is good up against the support, and Final Judgment plus Ice Eyes are enough to take down Rotwin from downtown here. Maskill still walking forward, and so is Lystemix as Okeanos has been caught out of position. Toddy will put the support down. That's a 1-for-1 trade.
But 1-for-1 trade, but investments so much heavier from the Ferrymen. I mean, with the Primal Fear and Pyromancer actually all coming back up, you're down 3 ultimates. And of course, one of them's on a dead guy, so maybe it doesn't matter as much, but your biggest confirmation is just gone here.
Sotos might be gone as well, as Azrael will dive under that tier 1 tower, pick up a nice and easy kill for the support. But Azrael could be losing out on their life here. They do have the beads to get out of the tower. Big evade and punish onto Maskill is good. Stun out of Lystemic's ultimate, but not enough damage. Maskill got forced away because of the damage coming out of Gunter. And B. Azrael only losing out on those beads during the engagement will manage to sneak on out.
I think a lot of pressure. So first off, Sotos is just a lightning rod right now. I mean, 1 in 4, the only person matching those deaths is Rotwin. So they don't like Sotos is the easy way to describe this. But you have to look at where other people aren't dying. So for Gilded Gladiators, Maskill's doing a good job of staying alive, and Toddy has been able to get out of a lot of these engagements as well. I don't necessarily care too much that Azrael has a 0 in the death column. I think that's great for Azrael, and it looks good for the stats, but that is not where I think the change needs to happen. It's the 0 for Gunter. 3-0-2 for a Thoth, hitting as hard as they are. If you go 1-for-1, I think at this point as Maskill, that's probably worthwhile for you to get such a huge damage dealer and really just potent player off the board for the Ferrymen. I think that makes the rest of the team fight so much easier for everybody else. I think it's this long-range damage from Gunter that is what's keeping them in this game. Plus, he's already got some percent pin, the flat pin on board. You've got a ton of power in this build. I really think that you got to figure out this Thoth, and you got to figure him out quick.
That's why we've seen so many teams just outright ban this god away. I mean, it's almost kind of like a Zeus syndrome. It's like, how do you dive the Zeus? How do we kill the Zeus? All right, well, we'll throw our jungler at them. Well, then your jungler just gets erased the moment that they try to. Or
now your jungler's dead.
Or you same even with your supports sometimes. These supports don't have their itemization out there. I mean, Rotwin, in theory, should be able to get to that backline nice. I mean, decent amount of magic prots online, but I got to agree with you here, Gore. I mean, Gunnar has just been allowed to sit back and throw infinite damage at the enemy team so far. He's top of the damage chart, so I can't say infinite. It's only 87.65 on player damage. We want to be super technical here, but Styx Ferrymen down in a little bit of gold. Now we'll have to fight for this Primal Fury. Streak Up is here, so this one's not going to go for free. Over to the Gilded Gladiators. Lystemix trying to zone away. Ice Ice. Okeano's picked up, thrown inside the damage of the bomb. But Okeano's, his pluck will be interrupted into the lurking in the waters. And that'll give Okeano's enough distance to get back out. And both teams have disengaged from the Fury.
Should open up opportunities around the Primal Fury for the Gilded Gladiators, although, again, Gunter existing on the map with this ultimate, you never feel too confident in your capabilities to pull it. They're going to start it up, but I think that, again, as long as you can keep your eyes on Thoth or keep him zoned out, that's the only way you can feel good about your security. He's going to outdamage an Agni at this point.
I was about to say, there's no way that Azrael should be able to steal this one away. Ice Ice losing out on their life, has to use the Bat out of Hell to get away, but meanwhile, it's Azrael in the middle of 4 in the backline, almost taking out Maskill, nearly single-handedly. Final Judgment thrown out by Gunter, not going to find much damage out there. Rotwin rooted in place, though, afterwards, and the Petrify out of Streak Up will find one. Lystemix boxing up against Ice Ice, trying to make it a 1-1 trade, but now Lystemix is the one on the run as the Bear is chasing them out. Azrael, Gunter, and Ice Ice to try and take out this Zama, but just a little too slippery here on the Zama to make it out.
Yeah, I think that what we see out of Gilded Gladiators is good team fight potential and just great re-engage. Like the Styx Ferrymen are able to disengage immediately and stay safe, stay alive, and then jump right back into the fight and make everything just absolutely a nightmare for the Gladiators. They only get the kill onto Rotwin, which is going to be big, but a lot of relics that get burned, specifically the beads from Lystemix being down, is going to be a big deal. Aegis down from Sotos. So they get, again, a lot of little things that can pile up going into the next team fight. And it makes it harder for the Gilded Gladiators to feel as confident going for things like this Pyromancer. I mean, having to leash it there because you just don't have the damage for the fight right now.
Pyromancer will go over to the Ferrymen, unless Maskill wants to try and out-secure a Final Judgment. Fortunate for Maskill, he doesn't make that decision. Instead, it'll be a trade out of objectives.
Yeah.
One Pyromancer for the Styx Ferrymen, but the Gilded Gladiators will finally pick up that Fury that they started a fight for earlier on. And if we take a look at the gold and the XP, good lord, we've had a whole roller coaster going on here. But even 23 minutes into the game now, Gore, we're still basically sitting even.
If the roller coaster ever goes up and then dips that quickly afterward, I think they're trying to kill you. I don't know if that's. I think you go past the vertical roller coaster.
I think you go past the vertical G limit at that point.
Yeah, you got to be careful. Either way, I think I like what Gilded Gladiators are doing here. Again, it's a small lead. It means practically nothing 23 minutes into the game, but being able to get what I would argue it feels like a more important objective there. Pyro is really good for resetting around the Fire Giant fights. You get to fall back. You're going to get back into the fight really quickly, and so it feels good in terms of the movement capabilities. And if like one person eats too much poke, you don't have to worry about like wasting your Aegis, your beads, or anything like that. You can go back. You don't have to worry about healing. Just get into the fountain, run right back into the fight. It's going to disappear by the time the Fire Giant fight starts at this pace, right? So really, the best thing is that you could get a Primal Fury, which is going to make the Fire Giant easier to kill the next time around. So I think Gilded Gladiators are starting to get into a position where if they group up over there, one good kill could really result in at least a Fire Giant pull from them. Then if they can kill off Gunter or at least force that ult out, they might be able to secure the thing like it's nothing.
Look at that. Second tower of the game finally goes down about 23.5 minutes in. Tier 1 in mid on the side of the Gladiators is now fallen. Right after at least the Tier 1 over on the left-hand side of the Styx Ferryman side of the map. But we're still sitting even gold, even XP at this point. The only real leads that we are seeing here is in this mid lane. Gunter's been able to hit level 20, went back, able to fully purchase up that Pendulum. Meanwhile, Sotos is still trying to get to that level 20 point to be able to purchase that starter item upgrade. And we'll obviously have to get a little bit of extra gold. Instead, they've elected towards an Obsidian Shard to be picked up here for their 4th item. Meanwhile, other side, Gunter with a Soul Reaver 4th item in.
Yeah, that's a strong hitter if you want to look at what Gunter's damage is going to be like. I mean, it's already 14,000 and it's top of the charts. It's gonna be a lot more. Is just the easy way to blanket it out. The difference, I think, is going to be whether or not, again, I guess effective player damage versus like objective damage. Theoretically, he's gonna have both. But I'm curious how hard he'll hit Rotwin and Lastimic specifically here. Not like a crazy amount of magical protection on both, but just enough to make it harder to kill.
Rotwin picks up Azrael, but Azrael is very tanky on this RDO. Beads are still available. Will have to be used after the Ragnarok. Lastimic goes into the back line. Doesn't find anybody with the dazzling offensive. And charging up that ultimate from the Atlas, it will only slam into Streakup, who's not too concerned about anything. Meanwhile, it's Okeanos and Ice disrupting the backline. The bomb off the mark by Sonos, but Streakup finds one in the midst of the fight. Maskill really wants to get this kill on Okeanos, and he will get it.
I mean, yeah, the chase down, so you go 1 for 1. Ice and Streakup need to be the targets, and they do get, I think, a lot of really good high-priority relics on the Gilded Gladiators. Look, both your carries still have Beads Aegis, and everybody else still has Beads that has it, right? Rotwin dies, who cares? It's a support, they're 0-6. They're a sacrificial lamb at this point for you. You get Beads from 1, 2, 3 members of the Ferrymen. The only person who maintains it is going to be Gunter. Still has the ult, still has the Aegis as well, but that means it's a lot easier to kill off Azrael if you're going to dump that much into the front line again, as well as Ice, and very specifically Streakup, who I think is becoming an even bigger deal. These ults from the Medusa have just been on point, and I think it's proving its first pick worth. Whether or not this is a win and how it ends up going in that support column, if it's one of the 70% or one of the very few, in fact, first pick win for it this week, well then I think it doesn't matter, right? It's earned its keep, I think, at this point, with the terms of damage that it's doing, but very specifically just the ults, and I think that's something they need to be worried about here. Caught looking is all it will take for the Gladiators to end up losing a big fight.
Ferrymen will pull the Fire Giant, but maybe Okeanos can pull in a target of the Gilded Gladiators. He'll stand at the front line, but not going to go for that pluck just yet. Azrael, who ate a lot more damage from the Fire Giant than they probably wanted to, will heal some of that back up. But as soon as the Gladiators have shown face here, it seems that the Ferrymen aren't willing to try and 50-50 this fire, even despite the fact that they've got probably the best map objective secure on the board. Rotwin and Maskill go in. Maskill will pick up Azrael and bring him to the backline. Ice low as well in the backline. Had to use the Bat Out of Hell to try and get away, but Lastimic and Rotwin are low. Final Judgment is down, but Maskill is still dying. The damage from Gunter is just too much for this Gladiators team to handle.
Now they're getting good damage onto Sotos. Oh. There's a good Aegis to keep him going, but Lastimic just stays too deep too long.
Gunter finds one. Sotos finds death. Sotos finds death as he does manage to beads away from the pluck, but there's still too much follow-up damage afterwards. Rotwin will throw down the Astro Lay, but that's about all that you're going to do. Drop a little weight, buddy. You're going to go right back to the fountain with the rest of your team. Only Maskill left alive on the Gladiators.
And honestly, I can't think of a better comp. If you go for Fire Giant right now, Gunter's low. Gunter can kill and deal damage without having to go into the pit here, so he doesn't need to take any of that. And yeah, look at this positioning. It's just really good from Gunter just to make sure that you're not going to take anything more. You still have your ults, and yeah, I don't even think you need it. Look, you killed off 4 of them. There's no way, yeah, Maskill is going to step up to this. So you're feeling really confident about that. That just feels like a fight of miscommunication from the Gladiators. I don't know if that's even how I want to describe it, because you get Ice fighting back relatively deep, kind of separates the fight. Lastimic goes in, tries to get a huge stun, fights up, pulls some ults their way, but it's so much focus on just Lastimic on one side and really just the front line on the other. Not enough secured damage from the Gladiators, and Azrael's healing, it's not a ton, but it's just enough that at this point it's going to keep people alive and really, again, be a huge problem in the middle of these fights. In fact, actually, it's hardly any at all. It's 900. So really, it's not even that's causing you trouble. It's just the fact that their damage doesn't seem to have enough staying power here. And I think that's going to be a big problem for the Gilded Gladiators. That was like the fight for them to try and win. And now that it's gone the other way, I think the Styx Ferrymen, a great position. Finally with a gold lead, they get 5 members with Fire Giant. You've got your ults up, your relics up, upgraded on some of those things. Starters, upgraded. Fights going incredibly well. And 3 towers to try and knock down. I don't think the Gilded Gladiators realistically should try to defend too heavily around a tier 2. I think depending on the positioning of the Ferrymen as they enter a tier 2, you might be able to step up to it, but I think this is going to be a Phoenix defense hard and true for the Gladiators.
I mean, when Azrael is just so willy-nilly charging through the middle of tier 1 towers and will gladly tank up a tier 2, for the team while the minions come through. No shot here that the Gilded Gladiators step up to this tier 2. That one goes down, and now only the one in mid lane is still standing. It'll be Ice there to try and pull up at least get the offense there and try and quickly burn down that last standing tower, and he'll be able to do so very easily. No assistance required from the rest of the Ferrymen. But they're kind of making this awkward 3-2 grouping. Now throwing Azrael and Ice over towards the mid lane. Sodos is here to try and answer back. First bomb, though, off the mark. Some big damage from Sodos. Or if it's big damage onto Sodos there. And a lot of damage onto Listemics. Has to use Dazzling Offensive to get away. Mass kill. Still has that Ragnarok ultimate, but won't fire it off just yet, as anybody that he picks up will still have beads to pull away.
Oh, teleport coming from Styx just to get back in here. With ult down, it's going to be a re-engage, and that's a good, huge stun onto Ice and Azrael.
The final judgment is now down from Gunnar, their big damage tool. Mid lane Phoenix is gone. Ultimate fired out by Rotwin, and an ultimate out of mass kill doesn't pick up anybody this time around. Okeanos is tanking up the entirety of the backline. Toddy gets shot down by Gunter, but still has just enough health to squeak away here. It's a mid lane Phoenix out, and the Ferrymen are now regrouping to the left side.
Yeah, and honestly, they should, and that's a very timid should, be able to get this. Again, look at the carries. The relics are still up. Same thing for Okeanos. I think they're going to be feeling just fine getting aggressive into this. It's just the fight back. You got to be worried about the damage.
Mass kill goes in, finds a big damage on a Gunter. Listemics finds the final blow, and Streak Up is under fire. There's 3 surrounding him. He'll go down. Both of the carries of the Ferrymen are out, and now with Ice gone, it's only the frontliners left alive. Mass kill goes in, gets stunned out by Azrael, but Azrael shouldn't have anywhere to go here. They're surrounded by 5, picked up, thrown down, and beaten to the grave. Only Okeanos left alive.
Yeah, okay. I'm watching Okeanos here. If I'm Okeanos, maybe you push this way forward, but realistically, I'm backing to the base. I don't know that there's much they can do. Run down mid, you've got 30 seconds without carries. I think Gladiators can win this off of that great fight.
They've still got 3 towers up, so this Titan will be very
shaky.
healthy, and it's taken them a while to take down this tier 2 tower. It may just be the Phoenix on the side of the Gladiators. They've got 12 seconds until Gunter is back up. The carry gets plucked away. Phoenix falling low. The full team will run in. Sodos dashes in aggressively. It's only Okeanos. Gunter is just now coming back up. But who cares about the structure damage? It may be low, but the Titan damage certainly is not. Gilded Gladiators in a 1-team fight at that left Phoenix swing the door back open and take game 1.
And it's not just, oh, hey, they took 1 team fight. It's the way they take it. Things that had not been going their way the entire time. You finally get mass kill onto the back, onto the carries. Doesn't matter that they have their relics. There was sustainable damage, and they were separated enough from the front line that all of a sudden they were able to get something done, and that was a huge deal. You get more damage out of Sodos, I think, in that last fight than we've gotten to see out of every other life Sodos had. There was a heavy focus from the Ferrymen there in mid and on the support, and so they got a lot of kills onto the Agni and onto the Atlas, but when it came down to the end, I think the specific presence from the Fenrir getting into the back, that close gap onto the carries, made the entire difference. They get those kills super early on, and then it's just a domino effect.
A nice turnaround here by the Gilded Gladiators in game 1 to take the first game of the set. We'll see if the Styx Ferrymen can bring us to a game 3, or is it going to be a clean sweep? We'll come back right after this break for game 2. And welcome back in. Gilded Gladiators, who kept a nice and even state of game the whole way through, then ended up losing a fight around Fire Giant, went down, what was it, like 5,000, 6,000+ gold, and even losing out on a mid lane Phoenix, rallied back together on that left side of the map and were able to pull this game back in with one big team fight to take the first game of the sets. J-Mac, I got Goremizer here with me to continue the breakdown of game number 1 there, but I mean, Gore, it was even the whole game. Every time we check back over the graphs, by the time somebody got in a lead, it dropped back down to basically nothing. And we didn't really get to see a lead until the very end of it, and then it also went back down to nothing.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm still a little perplexed. I think like it's a great fight from the Gilded Gladiators at the very end to get the circumstances they did. But like, look at the state after that mid lane Phoenix. You've got fire minions that are coming down mid. You've got 2 carries on the Styx Ferrymen, both of which have both their relics. And I believe at the time still had both of their ultimates. At least Streak Up, I believe, still had theirs. That feels like a recipe for disaster, even if they overstep slightly on the left-hand side. But then all of a sudden, it's not a slight overstep, it's a heavy overstep. You have some people deep in the Phoenix, and some people still right around the tier 2 line, at least the the Phoenix side of it. And so all of a sudden you get this play from Maskill, where a blink forward and then a jump onto Gunter kills him, and he still had beads available. There's just nothing you could do about it, right? The damage just came out too quickly, I believe, for Gunter to be able to react to it, and that creates a really good circumstance for him. They kill off, I think, the highest priority target in Gunter first, then to Streak Up, then to Ice. I think the 1-2 punch there really is what makes it easy. And then at that point, you're 30 minutes into the game. Death Timers did the rest of the work for you.
I mean, I want to go back to the dual lane. Those first couple of highlights that we saw at the very beginning. Talk about dream scenario for Rotwin, being able to pick up 1 to 2 people every single time that he fired off that ultimate, whether it was the actual, or not the ultimate, that second ability on that Atlas, whether he actually physically grabbed them and then threw them around, or if it was just that pull back, setting up for Toddy. But even just the one little, second blood combo that they had where Okeanos plucks Rotwin, throws him back after the charge. So at that point, you're thinking, okay, well, they can't close out that kill. What does Toddy do? Uses the most aggressive giddy-up we've seen in a while here to then kick him back far enough for Rotwin to pick him up again. This dual lane out of the Gilded Gladiators has been very impressive over the last few weeks of play.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm excited to see what they continue to offer. I think that one's a lot more close for both the Ferrymen and the Gladiators than some of their games last week. I think the Gladiators had some very similar that kind of keep even for a majority of it. But the Ferrymen, outside of some really good early games, had fallen behind. So that is a great improvement over last week's performance. Not the end result that they wanted, but I think that they're showcasing that those steps forward. This game, I think, is going to be just as important for them, not just in terms of can they win and push us to 3, but realistically, can you at least keep that level of performance up against a team like the Gladiators?
We are ready to go into picks and bans here for game number 2 between the Styx Ferrymen and the Gilded Gladiators. Gladiators, again, will take the second pick this time around. And maybe going back to that Medusa stat you were bringing up earlier, that's another loss here on first pick Medusa. Good. So maybe it is wise to kind of wait on that one. But as we've often seen, if you allow the Medusa to go beyond that first pick, then the enemy team picks it up, has a much higher success rate on that side here. But as far as the first bans are concerned, not a whole lot has changed. It's still going to be that Soul and Circuit and the Khepri, this time on the side of the Ferrymen. And then the Gilded Gladiators will continue with their same 3, Jormungandr, Cleo, and Bastet, all taken off the board.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that this makes a lot of sense. That's a surprise to me. I think everything else about this makes sense to stick to it. I think that Soul, Circuit, Khepri are all going to be huge threats. Khepri, we've seen what he can do for teamfights. Soul, we've seen what Sodos can do on that pick. And we just saw what the second pick, at least, for Sodos was able to do. It went like 1 and 7 until the very end. The damage didn't really matter. I just think that there was a change, and that's exactly what the Styx Ferrymen look at, is, okay, well, we need to change something. Medusa fell behind really early on, was first blooded super early in the lane. I don't know that letting it through to the other side is the exact way I would have gone with it. Gilded Gladiators now getting to pick up the Medusa for themselves feels, I think, a lot better for them than having to play. Although the Chiron kind of popped off early, so really it's just a balancing of scales.
Yeah, we do have the little flip there. The Chiron on the opposite side here, and the Medusa now over to the Gilded Gladiators. But alongside this Chiron, it's going to be the RDO one more time, so Beazrio will be able to reprise that efforts over into the solo lane. And the solo is where the Ferrymen were able to find at least an early lead to start out, and then that lead sort of transitioned itself over to the mid lane, and now they picked up a god who can maybe get a little bit more online early on at the very least here. Persephone locked in with the Styx Ferrymen to kind of round out that mid fight there, which no, no flak over towards Thoth. We see exactly how much damage he can get. But he does somewhat lack a little bit of that control that Persephone can bring in these very early team fights.
Yeah, it's going to be like two different styles of mages, right? The two times of play. Persephone is going to be a lot more zone control, and team fight oriented, whereas Thoth can kind of do a little bit of both, but like neither is like perfect. His team damage is going to be a little lower than what a Persephone brings out, so it makes things more fun. And it's interesting just because picking that up this early means that they had to push Ice's pick down a little further. I'm inclined to think, even though we've seen a lot of Osiris jungle over the last year, this was picked up in the same spot as the Amaterasu, so it feels like potentially a matchup there for the Ardio as opposed to something in the jungle. But again, that's something that can flex. Well, there's a Fenrir here. It's going to the solo lane. We already know that. We know exactly where Maskill wants to go with this Fenrir after the performances that they've had. And so realistically, you get to delay a little bit before locking in something for Ice and try to pick something good for specifically the comp the Gladiators have.
Now the ultimate question here, does the Gladiators pick up Sobek for their final pick here? Because then we'd have a complete lane swap, but we don't know. It's going to be Cabrakan this time. So Medusa Cabrakan over on the side of the Gilded Gladiators. Though, we still can't hold our breath here. We've been seeing a lot of Cabrakan jungle rise up as of recent. Cabrakan support still relevant. Fenrir jungle and support as well. Osiris maybe the only one that's kind of confirming to lock in over towards that solo, but at the same time, I'm still not 100% here, Gorb. I mean, we've seen Cabrakan and Fenrir and Osiris all have some flexibility with them themselves. We'll delay no longer and jump right into the game to see exactly what questions will be answered, where these gods are going to be going for Game 2 of the Styx Ferrymen and the Gilded Gladiators. We did see the Atlas picked up on the side of the Ferrymen, and then that very final pick will be a Chalk jungle, and it will be Rotwin taking the Fenrir this time, Gore.
And so this is going to be interesting. Atlas, Chiron, we just saw what these two picks can do when they're given a little leeway to get aggressive. They dominated a lane, just wholeheartedly, up against specifically Medusa, and so maybe they're going to be able to find some more kills like that. I don't know, though, because now Medusa, not only is it Toddy playing it, who I think Toddy has a really good early game, but specifically Rotwin's on a Fenrir right behind that. That's a lot of early pressure, and duo lane specifically, for both teams. So realistically, it's either going to be a bloodbath or nothing's going to happen, right? Like either everyone's going to look for kills, or they're both going to recognize that it's not the time to fight, and they're going to try to play it a little more safe. The downside, I think, that Gladiators are going to be dealing with here, and it does match up with the style Mastkill played last time. Cabrakan might not be able to get as hands-on as early as a Fenrir, so we might have to see a little delay, but Maskill wasn't trying to be as active, although now immediately making me eat my words, trying to find some stuns and some kills. He's got good damage, and I think that's going to be a fun thing about this Cabrakan to watch. I think compared to the Chalk very early in the game, Cabrakan's going to hit a little harder. They'll probably match up around the mid-game. It's the team fight presence that the Chalk is going to bring that's going to be a little more of a threat. Has self-healing, a lot of sustain that he's going to be able to bring, a massive team-wide silence, and that's going to cause a little bit of troubles, I think, for the Gladiators later on.
Well, we do see the dual lane attempted to get aggressive on the side of the Ferryman. Giano's dashing into the middle of the wave. Ice walking up to Maskill and eating a lot of damage, but so is Maskill. Good lord, Gunter's damage output, even this early on into the game, to help those minions, puts Maskill down to about 200 health in an instant. But Maskill will be fine. It is a blink on the side of this Cabrakan, was used earlier on. Ice still holding on to their blink here with this Chalk. Soda's standing over the wall to make sure to get that extra little bit of farm towards mid lane, but a rotation from Rotwin very early. Ice will eat some big damage. Sodos needs to find more. Will leap in, finds the consume onto 2, but not much more beyond there. Gilded Gladiators don't find that kill on Ice.
I mean, I recognize how safe that play was. It still feels very aggressive from Sodos, right, to leap into him. And the downside is for Ice here, like, there's still Fenrir. No matter what, it's still Fenrir on the other side. Might do a little less damage just because of the build and the nature of the beast, but realistically, I think it's going to showcase a lot of problems. No bead specifically for the Chalk. So unless that ult comes out in time to balance out Rotwin, I think Rotwin's going to be able to find at least one consistent target with that ult.
Rotwin will get picked up over there on that other side of the map. Over here towards Maskill's side of the map. Will find the stun up against Ice. Not the conal stun right afterwards, that second ability, but just enough to at least back Ice off of him. And instead, the Ferrymen turn their sights towards the blue buff that gets stolen away. Ice making sure to hold on to that last hit there. Okeanos will not find the pickup this time around. Toddy able to dash away just in time.
I like what we're seeing so far. Again, Styx Ferrymen, good early game, good aggression, not losing out on that first blood in mid lane, and now putting pressure onto both duo and solo side buffs. I mean, being able to find purple, being able to find the blue, strip away. It doesn't necessarily matter if Okeanos picks that up or not. Feels nice when he has it. But realistically, you're just trying to make sure they don't get the experience. And so far, they've been doing a great job of that. And being able to pressure out, massed kill. No big beads burners just yet off the board, and nothing available in terms of ults that are going to be able to find that. But I think that you're keeping pace despite the early aggression from the Gilded Gladiators, and it's going to lead to small level discrepancies, right? Like, getting your ult online first here for Gunter as compared to Sodos, and honestly having a much more impactful team fight from Gunter than from Sodos in terms of ultimate capability. So that level 5 makes a much bigger difference in terms of gap than what Sodos is going to be bringing. In fact, Sodos, unless he's just delaying his level up, is just straight up skipped putting a point into his ult, because it literally does not matter at this point for what they're playing. I think having some damage elsewhere in the kit is going to be a little bit more. No, he's gone for it now. So realistically, I think we're going to get to see something interesting out of the mid lane, but I don't think it's not going to come around that. I think the team fight goes to Gunter, and if he can hit 6, 7, if he can keep this farm game going and extend that lead a little further, then I think it's going to be fun to watch this Persephone grow.
We're here into the dual lane. We've been seeing nothing but action out of Okeanos and Streaka. They've been able to push Toddy and Rotwin back towards this tier 1 tower consistently, even stealing away that Serpent camp. So that will be one offering going the way of the Ferrymen on the Gladiator side of the map. Meanwhile, hi-rez will get this rotation over towards this left mid camp. That'll grab both of those offerings. Again, for the Stairman,
Yeah.
you can already see the difference in the obelisk between these two teams as Okeanos gets aggressive over towards this duo lane. But it is just an ultimate of Atlas, and
Yeah.
Atlas ultimate not nearly as impactful as the remainder of his kit this early on, but still
Yeah.
certainly a threat.
You really need to worry about that pull, I think, more than anything. And I like watching this. So immediately it's a red buff invade. I wouldn't be surprised if Okeanos goes and tries to strip away one of those offerings. You know where it's going to spawn. It's on the big circle right there. No, they're just going to skip over it. It's really interesting to see the dynamic, because in SPL, we're still seeing teams play around those obelisks like very heavily. And yet in SCC, they're not quite as concerned with it, which is maybe showcasing like the difference in priority to them, is just recognizing that it's a good buff for them, but they're not willing to risk their lives. Or some of the SEL supports, actually most of the SPL supports, more than willing to go die if it means that they can get 3 or 4 of those offerings stripped away. Does a lot more damage when you're trying to steal it. It's 15% now as opposed to the 10 that we had. And the buff isn't maybe quite as strong as it once was. It's still a really, really solid buff to have around your belt. And so these offerings getting picked up, and specifically as you highlighted, the obelisk almost full on the side of the Styx Ferrymen, is going to feel even better when they get that. Plus, I believe it's like a small amount of team-wide gold that you're going to be able to get. And Gladiators get some for the offerings that are in their obelisk when it's completed. But if it gets finished off by the Styx Ferrymen at this rate, it's going to be a nice little boon to their coffers at this point. And keep them a little bit ahead, right? It's not enough that, like a Gold Fury Pyromancer is going to get, balanced out by anything like that. But over the game, if you're getting every obelisk and the other team hasn't gotten one, you're going to start feeling, small leads everywhere.
In between Obelisk getting you that extra gold and XP across the board for your team, Totem of Coup as well, as we can see Styx Ferrymen have currently gotten the first 4 of those, so all of that extra gold has been going over to the pockets of the Ferrymen. That's where we're seeing this 0 kills so far in this game, at least up until now. Okeanos drops the ult, Rotwin goes in to try and find the Ragnarok, but there's just too much speed on the side of Rotwin. Gunter will close out the kill on the Rotwin instead, put first blood up now for the Styx Ferrymen to finally strike here 6.5 minutes into the game.
Goes on to that Persephone, feels really good to pick up a kill right there. hi-rez and Mascular fighting. Sodos takes a lot of damage in mid. I mean, it's all back and forth. hi-rez actually cut out in the walls.
hi-rez, nowhere to go.
Good axe.
Does have the axe and the torrent right after to find a way out. Almost thought it was going to be a nice little return fire there by the Gilded Gladiators, but I mean, going back to this obelisk, going back to this Totem of Coup, which once again the Ferryman solo laner will be on top of right away, all that golden XP is adding up. I mean, we've only had 1 kill so far in this game, Gore, and it's already nearly a 2,000 gold swing up for the Styx Ferrymen.
Yeah, I think it just goes to show, you had mentioned it, but like, you're seeing these obelisks, seeing specifically the Totem of Coup, all 5 of them going towards the Ferrymen right now, having a bunch of buff invades from the Ferrymen that have gone successful. So they're getting small experience, small gold leads, but they're getting them everywhere. I mean, they're finding it in every position, and so you're seeing, you know, at least in terms of experience, nothing too outrageous for them. But that 2,000 gold lead with only 1 kill on the board, no Gold Fury, no Pyromancer, it is just showcasing that the Ferrymen have a much better control on the map state right now. And I think goes to showcase where the Gladiators maybe need some help. But they do have a very late game team fight oriented draft, right? Like Cabrakan can find some picks, Fenrir can find some picks, but a lot of these picks are going to just do better when they're in the 5-on-5. I mean, that's where Tiamat typically gets to showcase her prowess.
Yeah, Tiamat not really known for her early game damage out here. It is a lot of the times where we see her really start to shine towards these late game team fights. A fight over this Greater Scorpion will force the leap out of Isotos, who's chunked out instantly by Gunter. That first item, Spear of Desolation, really showing its power early on, especially against these squishier targets.
Yeah, I think that we're going to get to see even more of that pressure from specifically Gunter as the ult comes up. Anytime you see a grouping like that, I mean, it's not like going to be the easiest wind up and slam, but you have to be worried about it if you're the Gladiators. There's a lot of close combatants on that squad, and that's an easy self-peel and lockdown combination that Gunter has in the middle of a team fight. And as you mentioned, already hitting hard, these flowers do a lot more damage than you expect half the time. And so I think Gunter's going to be a pretty big power player. Not quite, I think, as successful as maybe on the Thoth in terms of player damage, but still very present throughout the game.
Warless Demix just cannot catch a break on this right side. Blue buff invaded yet again by Azrael and Ice Ice. That removes another area of farm here on the Gilded Gladiators' right side of the map. And they've already been starving for farm pretty much ever. I mean, Ice Ice has been very active on this map, even though the XP may not reflect it being down compared to Mass Kill, but a lot of Ice Ice's pressure has been put on these buff camps. I mean, red buff stolen earlier, now a second blue buff taken away from the Gilded Gladiators.
Yeah, and it's really, like, not even benefiting Ice Ice that much. Like, looking at net worth, like, Ice Ice has 100 more gold, not even a full hundy. He's, like, 30 gold ahead of Maskill. So it's not even looking there. It's 1,200 gold, or 1,300 gold, or 1,100 gold that keeps bouncing around 2 levels for Gunter. That matters a lot in terms of the experience, is that 3K isn't all ending up in the jungle. It's ending up in the duo lane. It's ending up in solo. It's ending up in mid, and creating just enough of a separation. Again, it's 1 level for everybody, but it's enough that you're really starting to feel the presence. That with the gold lead, you're getting tier 2s a little earlier, you're getting your tier 3 power spikes a little bit quicker. I wouldn't be surprised if the 6 Ferrymen feel confident enough to start looking towards a Gold Fury relatively soon. If not the Gold Fury, then it should be a relatively easy early Pyromancer, since it's a little less risk trying to go for such a smaller objective.
Toddy dashed aggressively on Streak Up, and instead it's Toddy who's on the much worse end of this trade. Centaurus fired out just to clear out the wave here for Streak Up at the very least. Toddy loses about half their health during the fight, and Streak Up can go back to base. Fully stacked up Transcendence already completed on the side of this carry, and that'll be a Crusher pickup right after. So all this dual lane where the pressure was on in game number 1, that's where the Gilded Gladiators found some at least early game success. So far, they're not able to get that same level here. 6 Ferrymen have been able to keep them at bay nicely. Okeanos in the mid will be able to pick up 1, but ends up taking a lot of damage right back. The Gilded Gladiators can finally strike back, but Ice Ice with a massive ultimate, some big damage out of Gunter, finds the double kill. And just like that, 3 more on the board for the 6 Ferrymen.
And you trade out Okeanos? Like, yeah, every day of the week you're going to make that trade. I mean, that is so clean for the Ferrymen. A heavy investment from the Gladiators to try and jump in on mid onto an Atlas specifically. They get the beads out of Atlas, the ult out of Atlas, and their life. They cost them, what, beads, shell, blink, 3 lives, and 2 ultimates. Ultimately, I don't know, it just feels like such a heavy investment and such a great turnaround from the Ferrymen. Ice Ice with just such a huge ult, and goes to showcase how devastating that large silence AoE is going to be throughout it. You know, the damage is nice, but just stopping, you know, 2 mages essentially, if you look at the build that Maskill is going for, 2 magical damage dealers from accessing their abilities, that in the middle of a team fight, that's massive damage that's just missing from the Gladiators now. So I think if Ice Ice can find even just 1 more of those, this lead is going to go even further and beyond.
Now, I know that all 3 of them, the 3 who died on the Gladiators in that fight, were kind of low, but Sotos died through a shell. That's just how much damage Ice Ice is doing with that ultimate, and that's without a stacked up Transcendence. He walked in I don't even think he had the Transcendence ready to go at that point. He's only got 9 stacks on it as of now. Toddy eats 2 Centaur shots. Charge up with the ultimate from Okeanos. The pickup not enough. And the Gamma Ray Burst isn't enough either. So Okeanos will have to throw out that Astrolabe to clean up that kill and finally put the Hunter down on the Gilded Gladiators. 6 Ferrymen up 5-1. But it's not just in kills. It's also in that gold. Nearly 5,000 up for the Order side team.
Yeah, trying to push the upper limits. At this point, I mean, you should be feeling confident enough not just to go for like your shrine or stripping away the obelisk. I feel like a Gold Fury should be on the horizon here. I think that the Styx Ferrymen are in a good position to invade these buffs, force a fight, find a kill. I mean, Toddy's still gone for a little bit. They don't have their relics. This is a good time to try and pull an objective and at least get one more kill. If not, just get the objective.
Win goes in by themselves to try and find one of the 3 targets, but that's a third of his health bar gone instantly. Streak Up will find him, slow him down, training exercise, but no ultimate to fire back. Instead, it's Sotos peppering in those primordial onslaughts right after. Sotos would teleport away with the axe, but only right back in towards Sotos. Ultimate from Mass Kill, locks down the Chalk, but Okeanos picks him up, throws him against the wall, and puts him right back in the respawn. Okeanos with another kill up for the 6 Ferrymen.
And again, they just get it cleanly. A lot of investment from the Gilded Gladiators, but a cascading team fight from them. Rotwin goes in, eats a majority of their health bar before anybody else is nearby, falls back, and then everyone else shows up. But at that point, it's separated. You're locking down people that maybe don't need it. Streak Up gets a lot of good damage early on as well. And it just feels like right now, I don't know if it's the power is missing or if there's maybe some early game communication things. We've seen what the Gladiators are capable of in a team fight. So I know what to expect out of them here. But that just didn't line up with what I expected out of them. And I think, again, maybe just playing it patient at this point, trying to stop objectives from happening. Don't let the gold lead get out of hand. But maybe don't go for these team fights as readily. Maybe try to just stay safe, play safe, and stop the Ferrymen from getting even further ahead at this point. Strip away towers if you can. Try to balance out gold. If you're able to get a Gold Fury, that's going to be a huge bonus to you. But realistically right now, these fights aren't going well enough and consistently enough for the Gladiators for me to want to back it.
I'm looking at the damage charge score. That's 8,000 on the mid laner.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Not the solos where we see this fake damage come out all the time, but a lot of real damage here on the Gold Fury. Ultimate fired off, Petrify, and a jump in. The 6 Ferrymen do get the Gold Fury, but Ice Ice could go down here. Not going to be enough damage on Ice Ice. Instead, it's turned back around. Streak Up finds one. Rotwin can't find the bite in time onto Ice Ice. Gunner grabs one, and Rotwin will leap out, but he's not going to leap far enough. The axe toss gotten away by the Brutalized. Rotwin might have just found their way out of here, but can Sotos, it's Azrael under the tier 1 tower. This poor Tiamat under fire, picked up by Okeanos, thrown back to the clutches of the team, and it's Streak Up with another one. 9 kills now for the Ferrymen, a Gold Fury, and a tier 1.
There's a certain point, I think Gladiators, I'm going to go ahead and say it, probably aren't playing as cleanly as they could. It definitely feels like a lot of disjointed efforts. But part of this feels a little draft diffy at this point, right? You're just getting bodied by this Persephone, by this Atlas, by the Chalk. There's just so much presence in the team fights from the Ferrymen that I don't even know if the Gladiators have a chance to respond the way they want to. They get some decent damage out, but by the time they've got that damage out, you've got Chiron who's sitting perfectly comfortable, untouched, just fine. This might be the only chance they have to get a kill, and even then, they're going to have to invest a lot to get Streak Up here without dying.
Giddy Up was already expended. Rotwin, level 10 right now on the Fenrir, chasing a level 17 Chiron, who's got backup. Okeanos has shown back up, and Streak Up should be fine. A pickup by the support, a throw against the wall, and from downtown, Gunter finds a root in. Streak Up comes out of all of it with a double kill of his own. 3 more down on the Gladiators. The Ferrymen rallying together to make sure that Streak Up gets out of this fight.
Look, I got to give Streak Up a ton of credit here, as long as he doesn't die. Yeah, he should be fine. You get not only the double kill, he gets it in the Centaurs. That's both with those shots, finishing off kills. So not only do the beads Aegis prolong his life long enough for him to get into the ult, but it prolongs the fight long enough that the damage has been dealt so that he can get the kills to respawn through that ultimate. And then, again, deny another kill towards the Gladiators. This one is really starting to get out of hand for him. And again, it's just this conversation about why are you fighting? None of them have gone well. Your duo lane is 0-6-1 combined. Your jungle's 0-4. You're not getting the presence that you need out of these fights. And at this point, you've fallen so far behind that if, you know, the Styx Ferrymen start up a Fire Giant, you have one of two options. You Hail Mary, hope for a steal. Not a great option when that comes up, but you can maybe try for it. You strip it away, you prolong the game. Maybe you get a good team fight with the FG buff, or you get some presence on the map afterward. The other option is, at this point, just defend. You're going to have to let probably one of those go. You're going to have to be very careful with where your pressure is going because, again, a lot of the 2v2s, the 3v3s just aren't going their way. So you have to start thinking about how can we prolong this to the point where we can get a fight like we did last time. It's under the Phoenix fight one more time. Rotwin needs a good ult. Everybody has beads, so you have to wait for somebody to not have those available. If you can catch this Chiron out right now, that's a huge opening kill for you. But you got to start taking dints where you can. This gold lead has gotten out of hand enough that there's a full Rod of Tahuti, not just a tier 3, a Rod of Tahuti picked up from Gunter over Isodos right now, and that is just such a massive power spike in comparison that you're really going to feel that damage throughout every ounce of this fight.
Lastemics rooted out. Ice is here. Ultimate out of the Osiris. Will not get him very far. Azrael was already waiting on the tail end of that one. Ice throws out the Rainstorm, but it's not going to find anything there. Beads out of Lastemics taken by Azrael this time around. So not only the ultimate of the solo laner, but those beads too. Level 19 for Gunter. Rotwin, poor Rotwin, level 11 on the Fenrir. Still hasn't had an opportunity to go back, get a second relic even. And they're scrapping for any bit of farm that this Fenrir can find. Yeah,
so the worst case scenario, I think, for a support in general is going to be if you're discussing getting a second relic online in the same breath that we're starting to look at Okeanos potentially getting their starter item upgrade online. Like, you're ridiculously far behind. You're going to be able to get it. It's a frenzy. That's going to help out in some of these fights. That mask, once it's full build, going to help out in a lot of these fights. Going to get this Fenrir maybe back on track. But that doesn't help. You know, you've got a 4-level gap between Streak Up and Toddy, level 20. First one on the board there for Streak Up. I mean, this Chiron has been incredibly potent from both of these teams. But this game, I think even more so. 4-0-7 looks a lot better than whatever Toddy was able to put up on it last game. And so you're getting just fantastic performances from the Ferrymen in every regard. And the only person who's died is Okeanos. I don't know, again, where you want to put your pressure. I think you have to, like I said earlier, focus on your farm. Where can you find it? What waves can you get? Do you step up to an Oni Fairy? God, no. You don't fight it there. Maybe you can fight around a Pyromancer or a Fire Giant, but you have to be careful. You want to get this Fenrir with that mask fully online at the minimum, and ideally maybe an upgraded relic if you can afford it early on. Just something to get this team feeling somewhat balanced in the next team fight.
Now, we saw Okeanos go for Sodos there just a moment ago on this left side of the jungle. Oni Fury, that one should go over to the Styx Ferrymen. No reason the Gladiators should step up to this one. But Sodos is being chased by Okeanos, and I saw beads pop through it. Now, I'm not sure if this is a beads that came from the slow out of that connect charge from Okeanos or not, or if they had just somehow heard Gunter fire off that ultimate. But without those beads pop, that could have been a pretty sick, nasty trap coming out of Gunter from base, I'm not going to say from max range, but being able to weave through those jungle walls with that ultimate. Fortunate for Sodos, he doesn't get hit by that one. Streak Up gets caught out, backing at the purple buff, but even that's not enough to get the kill just yet. Somehow, this Chiron has been able to get out of so many dangerous situations. Again, I don't get it.
Look, I keep looking down to see if there's like going to be an Aussie or something for Streak Up. Like, I feel like Streak Up in the last 2 games has spent a lot of time, you know, below the like 20% health mark. And so, you know, maybe looking for lifesteal, but who needs it when they're not killing you? I mean, every single time you get low, the dash has been good enough for a disengage. The ult has been good enough to stay alive. And so realistically for Streak Up, this is just a clean game. Beads are down, though. Again, this is a good opening to try and kill off that Chiron. Look for these individual picks and try to open things up. Otherwise, they're on the FG right now, so you really got to get something going for yourselves with the other Gladiators.
Got to make things happen quick. Fire Giant attacked here with the ultimate out of the support. That's shredding those prots on that objective. The beam has been fired out. The Fire Giant is down to 15% health, but it hasn't been fully leashed just yet. Centaurus shots through. Out of streak up the Ferrymen. Get the Fire Giant. Rotwin running away on this Ragnarok ultimate, but how far can he get? Big damage out of Sotos. A leap in by the Tiamat, but a shell popped in response by the Ferryman, and Sotos just gets popped the instant that shell has worn out. Rotwin picked up, thrown right back into the grasp of Gunter, and taken down. It's a double kill for the Persephone.
Yeah, now with Toddy going down, 4 of them gone, mass kill, the last one surviving. I don't even know if I care about the rest of these towers. I run down mid, I go through that Phoenix, and I just end the game right now. I think this is a good and easy spot for the Ferrymen. 3 towers still standing, so it's going to be a little tankier, but they've got time, and they've got fire, and they've got 5 people alive. I feel like this is a perfect opportunity for them to just run and end the game.
And they've got a massive gold lead, too. I mean, we were just talking about how there's a full rod up to Hootie up just for the mid laner alone. And plus, there's over 30 seconds until, the next person is going to be coming back up. It's only mass kill on the defense here. And while mass kill's got a lot of damage, a lot of that does come up being a single target. If you can find some nice, extra conal stuns out here, could be good, at least for this team. But it's going to be a hard defense out of this Gilded Gladiators jungle.
Yeah, I think you could hit a 5, well, you can't because it's not up. If you even hit a 5-man ult, or if they all just stood in trimmers for like 2 minutes, I still don't know that that's going to be enough for Maskill to try and pull this one back.
He can't even go back. Look on the right side. Azriel has stopped
bullying.
Maskill.
Oh, no.
Azriel's going to kill him. Azriel's probably going, guys, don't end the game yet. Let me get this kill. Let me get this kill. But that kill's not going to come in time. It's going to be the Titan going down. The Styx Ferrymen have brought game 2 right back in. They're able to tie up the set now 1-1.
Let's talk about one-sided, because that's what that game was. 6-0-6 in the mid lane. What was it, like 5-0-9 there out of the carry? Neither of them getting touched in terms of death, relics getting burned consistently. And that's where the Gladiators were able to turn that fight around in game number 1, was finally getting to those carries and killing them off. But this time around, you managed to keep all of your relics, you keep all of your lives going. The damage output is insane. You get an early lead super early, early on. That's kind of self-explanatory. And I think things continue in that route. So realistically, I think if you are the Gladiators here, you change up your draft. So whatever it is that needs to change, you go into it, but your early game needs to be balanced out a little bit more. This Persephone got out of hand. Late game, I think that they just had a better team fight on the side of the Ferrymen, and 10,000 gold didn't hurt having that on their pockets as well.
Yeah, it felt like the Gilded Gladiators didn't really have a chance to play the late game team fights just because they were so far down pretty much the entire way through. Great game out of the Styx Ferrymen will tie us up 1-1 on the set and take us into game number 3. That one will be coming up right after this. first set of the day is going to take us to our first 3-game set of the day, at the very least here. Not sure if we'll see any more of that here, but our first 3-game set in EU as well. All of them were 2-0s last week, but that's not going to happen here today. The Styx Ferrymen bring it back in game number 2 in one of the most one-sided matchups that we've seen in some time here over in the EU region. My name is J-Mac, with me Goremizer here to break down game number 2, but not much more to break down other than what we kind of hinted on at the very end of the desk. I mean, it just was maybe a bit of a draft diff out of there. Duo lane out of control. Took a little while for Duo to really got to go crazy there. Gunter really providing a lot of the brunt force here for the Ferrymen in at least the early game.
Yeah, I think the Gladiators had a good chance if they enter that late game state even, but they don't. Nope. And that is, they just lose very hard early on. I think you get to see a lot of plays and presence from Gunter, not just from the first blood, but damage-wise. I think you had pointed it out, but very early on had like 8k damage up when the next highest was 4k, and it was out of a mid laner. You get a 9 KDA. I think this guy just absolutely played this Persephone to the T in terms of what you needed. And it set things up so wonderfully. I mean, that team fight in mid where 3 people fall on the side of the Gladiators just to kill off Okeanos was really the turning point. I mean, that was the last and only successful fight that well, that's not even successful. That was the only fight we got to see out of the Gladiators that looked like it could have gone somewhere, and it fell apart tragically for them incredibly fast. I think from that point forward, it just became a lot easier to exist and maneuver. I mean, the carries on the side of the Ferrymen just never touched. They never had to worry about it. Their relics every now and then would get used, but I mean, this is kind of free casting from Gunter.
I mean, even though Gunter's at a quarter health, I mean, how many different engagements happened around this mid laner here? 6-0-6 to end this game out. Top of the gold for his team. And a nearly full build. I mean, we were barely, 24, 25 minutes of play there. Yeah. And Gunter was a full Rada Tahuti up. I mean, Isotos was just starting on their 4th item there. Didn't even have the starter item upgraded. 13,000 damage, so top of the damage charts as well here for the side of the Styx Ferrymen. And coming for the Gladiators here in game number 3, Gore, I think you're right to bring up that maybe the drafting is where a lot of the problem kind of came out of control here. I mean, that the Atlas, the Chiron that works so well for the Gladiators in game number 1, they give both of those up over to the Ferrymen. Granted, one of those was a first pick on the side of the Ferrymen with that Chiron, but when you have a lane that has that much control, you typically don't want to just give that one up. We'll have to see if that happens here in game number 3, though.
Yeah, I think as much as I was on the fence about a first pick Chiron, it worked out, obviously. I think the Atlas as well has to be a high priority pick. It's gone in the bottom 2 for both of these teams twice. I feel like you could bump that up.
Maybe so. Maybe we'll see if that Atlas gets a little bit more priority here. Game number 3, picks and bans, and it will still be the Ferrymen over here on first pick. Gladiators electing to take that second pick, but maybe now is where we see a little bit of the change up in those picks and bans. Maybe at least on the side of the Gladiators. We do still have the same stuff coming out, though, immediately. Sol and Jormungandr, no surprise. Those have been the first 2 bans for both these teams all the way through. But I want to see some adaptation out of one of these 2 teams here, specifically out of the Gladiators. Maybe, just maybe, take something away on their side? No? No. Okay. Nope. We're not going to have anything. Same things all the way through.
They changed the order.
Oh, they did.
It's been Sol, Serket,
right,
Khepri.
The Ferrymen changed their
now
order.
It's Sol, Khepri, Serket. That's a huge...
That's massive. That might be the difference maker here, but it's the Ferrymen who changed. I was wanting to change out the Gladiators.
Yeah.
Here's the change, though. Chiron first pick. That's not different. That's going back to the Ferrymen. But Artio finally taken away from Azrael now here. This one going over to the Gladiator solo.
It feels like this, hey guys, I've kind of been bodied twice in lane by an Artio. Every time we get to these team fight phases, it's like really annoying because there's an Artio on the other side. If we're not going to ban her, maybe we just take her. Turns out she's pretty good. And even though, again, maybe, like 50% win rate this set, because she lost game 1, they were winning a majority of that game. It's one bad fight from the Ferrymen that lose them game number 1. Otherwise, this is a 2-0. So realistically, I think that this is a good pull away from the Ferrymen. But it comes at a cost, right? You're still letting something through, and you're still going to let them get a hefty majority of their core. You get the Fenrir, though, which, let me just throw it out there. Please go to the jungle. Did not look too great for Rotwin last game. Fell behind way too hard, and I don't think that matching up into an Atlas Chiron again is going to work out well.
No, and it's not just the Atlas Chiron, it's also the Persephone. So the 3 biggest problem children of the Styx Ferrymen from game number 1 have made their way back onto the Styx Ferrymen, in game number 2, have made their way back now here in game number 3. The only difference that's been made is Ardio has been taken away from the Gladiators, so Azrael will have to find something new to play this time around. It's a Heimdall now towards that dual lane, so we're not going to see the Medusa at all here in game number 3 core. Instead, it'll be Heimdall and Fafnir rounding out that dual lane, so we do get to see Maskill go back on the Fen. A couple of jungle bands there, specifically towards Ice with the Camos Dodgy, and a couple of mid bands on the side of the Ferrymen. So let's see where the Gladiators go. They went with the Tiamat last time, and as much as we all love Tiamat doesn't do so hot in the early game.
No, and they lost hard in the early game, and we didn't get to see Tiamat do pretty much anything throughout the entirety of that. A little bit of damage here and there, but not enough to make a big difference for them. I like that they held it for the end, though, because I feel like with the Soul ban coming through, the Agni, the Thoth ban, how Persephone gets picked up, and specifically how we just saw the Tiamat perform, you're going to want something that's not, well, you can't do 4 of those, I guess, because it's technically picked away from you. And you need to go to something fresh. But a lot of other mages, when they fall out of that top meta or, your top priority, have something that's counterable about them, so you don't want to pick them up too early on, or else they'll just say, cool, I'm going to draft this to kill you. And I think that, pausing for this Discordia works out pretty well.
Will be a Cerberus to replace the Ardio on the side of the Ferrymen. It's the only change that happens from games 2 to 3 for them. We'll see if that'll still be able to net them a win in game number 3, or can the Gilded Gladiators bring this one back? We'll have to find out once we jump right into game. It's J-Mac, Gore, and Doug. One more time, forgot to give our nice little shout out to Doug this morning. So thank you so much, Doug, for being our observer here in our first set of the day. Game number 3, Ice once again on the Chalk, Cerberus over into the solo lane. But going over towards this Discordia, a god that kind of pops herself in and out. But everything that we've seen from the Gladiators has been, we want to get dual lane pressure or we want to get solo lane pressure.
Yeah.
Discordia seems like a great god to do it just because of by nature of her passive.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a much better draft top to bottom from Gilded Gladiators as opposed to last game. You had mentioned having, essentially the same core. It's just Azrael that had changed. And I think that will make a significant difference, right? As long as you make some appropriate changes in the mid, right? You don't have a Fenrir, so that's one less squishy target on the side of the Gladiators. I think Rodwin's going to be able to keep up a lot better on this Fafnir. And it really does enable a little bit more of what Maskill's playstyle on this Fenrir was like that we saw in Game 1 as well as last week, as well as Toddy a little bit later on. That Coerce is going to be very helpful for a lot of these auto attackers. And then you add in that buff that Discordia is going to be giving, probably going towards Listemics, but whoever it ends up on is going to have a nice little boon to their damage. All of a sudden, the Gilded Gladiators have enough buffs on their side that even if they fall behind, they have something to balance it out. But they've got an Ardio over there in the solo lane, and that typically balances really easily against the Cerberus. Cerberus has been like the go-to matchup against her. But at least this year, if I remember correctly, he hasn't been winning that matchup very often. And so this is one that it's going to be an interesting lane. Whoever can really take control of it probably helps their team win the game the best.
Okeanos does find the pickup with that gravity pull, but a quick hammer response out of Rotwin will at least stop that. It's the 2v2 in solo. Azrael versus Ice, a lot of sustain on Ice. He'll walk up gladly against Maskill, who's got to leap on out. Listemic did stun down. Beads now out of the Ardio. Ice needs one more ability, but that dash from Listemics will create enough distance to get themselves on out of here. But the Gladiators on the back foot already in the solo lane, and Soto's under fire in the mid lane. The Garden out here from the mid laner. Gunter putting out a lot. Azrael fighting back into the Listemics. The jump is good. Maskill will strike first blood. Maybe they can get the double kill here up against Ice. They will. And the Gladiators can finally strike on.
I mean, that is just great re-engage from them. Good presence of mind to be able to dodge out a little bit of damage there from Ice. I thought Ice was gone. I think they did too, and that's why they get aggressive onto Azrael. I was ready to talk about how it's a, not necessarily a lose situation. You lose your beads if you're Listemics, but luckily they had gotten you low before the blue buff spawns up, so maybe the most you lose out on is some back camps. Nothing huge. Then you get a double kill for your jungler and 2 assists on the Ardio. All of a sudden you're a level up on both. I don't care that you burned your beads. I don't even care if Ice, and they didn't, but even if they had taken any back camps, doesn't mean anything just because of what you're able to do presence-wise. Good first blood. You get it onto a big player here for Maskill. And this is a good start. Get aggressive with this lead. Try to play into it. You don't quite steal away the blue buff, but I like where their head's at.
Rodwin picked up, taking a lot of damage. Won't steal away purple buff as a lone Fafnir, but gave Toddy plenty of free farm on that left-hand side. We see now level 4 out of the Heimdall. And kind of talk about Heimdall, he really feels almost like an EU exclusive. Not a lot of the North American hunters are really going towards this god, but For some reason, the European scene really loves playing this god. It's like their third one to go to when it comes to the Hunters now. If you're throwing Medusa, Chiron kind of into that mix right now. So Toddy really showing some stuff here over into this duo lane. Meanwhile, it's a beads burn out of Gunter from the Ragnarok on mass kill in mid.
I think that looking at specifically what these teams and the way that they're playing it, I think we get to see a much more present and like potent play from Rotwin this time around, which is already great. But Maskill, I think having a small lead, notably not having their ult available. There it is. Yeah, so throwing in a point for them. I want to see a little more aggression, I think, from the Gladiators right now. Push this lead to the limit while you have a Fenrir who's doing well, while you're gonna be able to burn beads on the other side. They're down for Gunter, and that's presumably because of some of that aggression. I want to see a little bit more of that, right? When that's on, once your ult's off cooldown, if you're Maskill, jump in, go for the dive, and try to find more ways than one to pressure out this team. Because Ice, I think, as we go on throughout this game, is going to be a present threat because it's Ice, right? They're just going to. And I think Streak Up and Okeanos specifically as a duo lane performed incredibly on these picks last time, so you have to be a little worried about them. So I like to see the presence of Maskill throughout this game and how it continues on this trajectory.
Well, with those beads still down for Gunter, like you're saying, could be a great target here. Streak Up will use the beads to get away from the ultimate Toddy this time. So now another ideal target for Maskill to grab. Okeanos a little late back in on that rotation, and another blue buff stolen away. This time up against Azrael, where last game they were stealing Lestemix's blue buff on the side of the Ferryman. Rodwin picked up again, trying to go for yet another purple invade as a lone Fafnir will find some damage, but Streak Up used the last of his mana for the giddy up to get onto that there. So no more fight now out of the Ferryman. They're just going to go back and farm.
Can't body block when he just nudges you out of the way, right? Like, because it looked like that's what Rodwin was going for. If you get on the other side there, you body block and you go into the transformation, all of a sudden, Streak Up's dead. Good giddy up. Yeah, it costs the rest of the mana, but you get out of there, you get to back up, and the most you are missing now is your beads. So you're feeling mostly okay in the duo lane for now. And it does go back to that point you were making where like Heimdall's kind of an EU exclusive, something that Streak Up should be comfortable playing up against. There are a few teams, if I remember correctly, where like Heimdall's like a must ban against in Europe. And that's not like too surprising, only because of how big of a performance. Like the Wargs right now, 2 games last week, two Heimdall bans, where it's like that's not going to happen against every single team. I think if Toddy can prove to be at that level, despite the fact that Heimdall's not in the meta right now, it could, 1, be really good for them in picks and bans, but 2, give another hope to some of these picks. I mean, the Chiron looked really good. The Medusa didn't, although I don't know if that's necessarily Toddy's fault. I feel like the entire game got out of hand there.
Sotos under fire in mid lane will throw the golden apple out, and ultimate from the opposing mid laner will find the wall, but not much more beyond there. A lot of ults thrown out, no blood spilled, but a couple of relics taken away there. Mid lane, no relic now for Sotos for 155 seconds. Mass kill, doesn't find anybody with that Ragnarok, not even willing to walk up to the 3 strong. Could be in danger now, especially Sotos doesn't have your beads, you don't have your mana. A nice jump will get you away from the pull at the very least, but that's all you're going to get away from. Okeanos has the kinetic charge to dash on in and pick up the kill on the mid.
Man, the slows they have on the Ferryman is impressive. Oh my god, talk about impressive here. Toddy, and he gets out of there. I mean, that's going to be a long cooldown for the Crystal, but he's just styled on a man, so it doesn't even matter, does it? You know, 20 seconds left for Streak Up to have those beads back up. Toddy gets a clean solo kill, goes, I guess 1 for 1 grand scheme. You still lose Sotos, so which is unfortunate, but the kill ends up going on to Okeanos, which is a nice balance because it's not like a high priority person picking it up. Feels like it's a good start here for the Gladiators. Again, appropriate changes from Game 2 to Game 3. They get a much more early game centered jungler, more hands-on specifically for Maskill than what the Cabrakan was able to do. And now they're able to get a little bit more going for themselves. Rodwin not quite following the pattern perfectly there, so didn't get as many of those offerings, I think, as could have. And that could have potentially saved them that obelisk.
Gore, it's my favorite game of supports trading flowers between each other there. I mean, you get one of them that says, all right, cool, I'm going to go. And then they see the enemy support. They're like, Well, this is just awkward because now we're both sitting here losing health for basically nothing as they pass the flower back and forth between each other here. A brief pause in the action, though, here in game number 3. But at least a much stronger start here out of the Gilded Gladiators, able to get a couple of kills on the board earlier on. But Sotos is playing very aggressively, especially for the fact that he had just used his beads and ult in that very last team fight. And now Toddy, we were just hyping him up on a nice little solo kill of his own, but he gets taken out here. On the left-hand side, Okeanos low, the Golden Apple, not going to get a whole lot of damage out there. They need one more auto, and Sotos will find it. Up against Okeanos to put a 4th one now up for the Gilded Gladiators. Ice gets hit by that unruly magic, but now the Gunter has shown back up. The Grasp of Death is there to hold Sotos and Rotwin in place. But no further follow-up from the Ferrymen. I thought they would have gotten a little bit more aggressive on Rotwin.
Honestly, I think that trade still ends up being in their favor. I think they could have gotten more. You're 100% right. But it's not the end of the world for him, right? You get the beads and a kill on Toddy, and you lose beads for Okeanos and a death on Okeanos. So going to be more worthwhile, especially after the solo kill Toddy already got. You are able to invade a little bit, strip some experience away, be aggressive. And I think it goes to showcase, again, another problem I'm worried about for the Gladiators, and that's that late game. 4/5 of this team for the Ferrymen's the exact same, and we already know that means it's got a good team fight.
Azriel goes down to mass kill, and Ice should be close to follow behind. Ultimate is there. Beads out of mass kill. Leap is just off the mark, though, and Lestemix doesn't have the distance for the Maul Prey after. Somehow, Ice makes it out, but Sotos might not. Does use the ultimate to not get pulled back in. But the Golden Apple doesn't find a home at the end of it. It's just Okeanos stripping another ult off the mid.
Just making sure that they can continue this amount of pressure, this onslaught. Beads are up for Sotos, so they are going to be able to find a little more aggression there. And admittedly try to just force out a relic. Sotos, you had mentioned it playing relatively aggressive, like low mana, low health right now at the red buff. But Okeanos does not care. And I like this presence when you have this Scepter. You can see it, not a ton of damage, but it's still free damage. And free damage, well, it feels really good in these circumstances. So that forces Sotos to have to play this a little more carefully. And I think that's probably a route you should go for a majority of this game. Realistically, team fight. Once again, I'm going to go back to the point I was trying to make earlier, which is that Ice Gunter, Okeanos Streak Up combined to be an absolute nuisance. There's a little SCC from the Ferrymen that's going to be as prominent just because they're missing the RDO that they had last time, which had good, long-range roots, consistent stuns. You've got Azriel, who has huge teamfight ultimate, good stun, but it's single target. Well, not single target, it's just very hard to hit on multiple targets because they have to be literally on top of each other. It's going to make things a little more interesting for them if the solo impact is lessened, but the rest of the squad should theoretically be able to put up a good fight. You've got a nice early lead if you're the Gladiators. It's just making sure that you can maintain this pressure. Right now, pick-oriented 2v2s, 3v3s, these are where you're going to be favored in these fights.
Sotos very far back, separated from Rotwin and Masskill. Gunter will have spot out the support. It's just a dewarding battle more than anything else here. Out of the side of the Gilded Gladiators, they've been able to take a couple of wards off the map for the Ferrymen. Sotos and Gunter having a 1v1 fight. Quick leap out of Sotos. Will get away from the damage from Gunter, but now it's the 2v2 by the solo in the jungle. Ultimate was not going to be enough for Azriel. Lestemix finds the big value there. Big ultimate from the mid, just off the mark, but Masskill still goes down. Double pull by Okeanos, but that's not going to get any much more than there. Just enough for a disengage out of the Ferrymen. A 1-for-1 trade. Azriel for Masskill.
I feel like Azriel's worth dropping for Masskill, though. I think, again, you just look at where it is. You're already 2 levels down. It's unfortunate for you to die because it's more farm that's going towards Lestemix. But a 3-0 Fenrir feels pretty solid to shut down this early on, stop the killing spree from, amassing into anything better. And it does slow down the game a little bit for the Gladiators. I'm still worried about what they can do kind of after the fact, right? When it's 1-for-1 trades, the experience and the gold, at least afterward, still have been going for the Gladiators. The last couple of fights haven't been like these clean engages, disengages for them. They've been finding these trades, maybe finding a pick, just afterward to make it go in their favor. But realistically, this is where, and I like to see the Ferrymen get aggressive because they need more experience.
Sotos almost goes down, even through the shell, does still fall at the end of the day to Streak Up, who rotated themselves on over. Ice used the teleport to go the opposite way, but now they've ran straight into Toddy, who will take them down, but Masskill eats a lot there from Gunter. The flowers, plus that leap and ult from downtown, but Masskill has more than enough distance to get away from there. But man, still, even this early on, Gunter is swinging.
Yeah, that was an impressive amount of damage. 5,200 already on the board. Again, not much in comparison, about 1,000 more than Sodos, but realistically, you know, what we saw last game at this point, you were watching this Persephone swinging for 8K, right? It was a lot early on, but I think you're really getting to see the presence of what this Persephone can bring. Good team fight and just damage numbers that make it a lot more difficult to try and stay aggressive. If you're Maskill, if you're Sodos, if you're Toddy, you're going to get bursted down. You're going to feel the brunt of that. One good ult onto you, all of a sudden, even if you have your beads, you might just die anyway because of the initial CC. And so I think that Rotwin and Lastimics are going to have their work cut out for them in terms of not only body blocking the ult, maybe pressuring out Gunter and making them feel uncomfortable, but also just making sure that their carries can continue the route that they've been on. It's kind of surprising, though, to see. I mean, we've had a lot of kills. Granted, a lot of them have been like single target, you know, just picks. But I'm interested that no one's really looked at either Pyromancer or Gold Fury, even just slightly at this point.
That's been completely glossed over here. Good stun on the Streak Up. Some good damage to a fire back, but Streak Up's got the giddy up, so that'll get away from Ragnarok out of Maskill. Doesn't feel good losing your ultimate there as the jungler for basically nothing out of Streak Up. Did get the Aegis at least, so it's not all for nothing here. But now talking about this Gold Fury, Gilded Gladiators will group up. Transformation out of Rotwin will provide a lot of extra burn. Maskill jumps over the ultimate, but a second one comes through. Not quite enough. Styx Ferrymen, though. They steal away the Gold Fury from the Gilded Gladiators. Now Toddy cannot barely find a way out of there. It's the ultimate from Atlas once again that steals away yet another objective. All the Gladiators on the run.
That's just painful for them. I mean, you're going to get out, but you had a substantial gold lead prior to that. And while it's not necessarily gone, it's significantly lessened, and honestly, with the amount that was just used, you could probably try to pull the Pyromancer here. They're going to go for the safer play in the Scorpion, but I think you could have gotten a little more aggressive for the Styx Ferrymen. That's a good steal from them, and again, just good presence of mind. A lot of damage that gets dumped immediately onto everybody. Like, it just feels like it's disjointed. They didn't know whether or not they wanted to continue the fight or if they wanted to pull back. And I think that Maskill, again, aggressive, takes too much damage right now. Example there, dead.
Question mark?
In order to do something.
A bit of a questionable play for Maskill to stay that aggressive. Sure, the Gladiators do get the Pyromancer. This at least gives them a little bit of gold to trade out for the death of their jungler, but maybe an unnecessary death there. But Gore, that's now twice that we have seen an Atlas ultimate steal away a Gold Fury for, what, first time it was like 120 damage you saw it, this time barely 130. That's an auto attack from Toddy at this point of the game.
Yeah, you realistically have to be able to hit it, but that's where like good body blocks are coming in. They get zoned out. Toddy, you saw, forced to crystal away. I mean, look at Okeanos. He's just bullying Sodos here for funsies right now, and no one's punishing him.
But Gunter,
there we go.
Off the mark here with this ultimate. A fire back with the Unruly Magic. Not enough damage. And Okeanos does manage to walk out. Tier 1 tower all the while for the Gilded Gladiators was under fire by mid laner and the Hunter of the Ferrymen. So that one trades out to the 500 from Pyro, negated now by the 500 from the tower. And Okeanos gets to live. Had to use his beads, so that doesn't feel great. But you still got a tower and you still got out, so that does feel good.
Yeah, realistically, you're happy with these trades out, the way that they're going. It's been a lot of right-hand present kills, right? You've got 2 there on the Ice, 3 deaths there on the Ferryman. So, you know, Lastimics has a nice, comfortable lead. It theoretically should have been Maskill with a lead, but those last couple of deaths, as well as just good farming from Ice, has really leveled out the jungle. You've lost experience overall in mid. It's been good farm game from Gunter and good presence from this Persephone. And so I think that you know have to write home where you can. It's going to be this solo and this carry right now that have your advantages. The gold lead, what once was at least comfortable early on, is still, you know, enough to have something to build off of here for the Gladiators, but you've definitely lost a lot of the frightening presence you had and the hard edge that you had going in your favor. Now you're starting to have to go back towards basics, right? How is our team fight? Where's our 3v3? How can we get picks? Can I find a 1v1 over in the duo lane? Is that even possible anymore for me to be able to pick it up when the relics are available? Things like that are going to make a big play. And now with every objective down, I don't see either of these teams going for a Fire Giant for the next few minutes. I think that we're going to see, you know, in under 2 when that Fury respawns, the Oni Fury. That's where the next fight, or at least pressure should be applied from either of these squads. Because even though we're hitting that magic number for an FG fight, it just doesn't feel like either of these teams have enough of a lead right now to try and even force that. Like, I don't feel confident enough in the Gladiators team fight, and the Ferrymen are just behind enough that I don't know if I want them to push forward completely.
It does seem like an awkward time to try and pull this Fire Giant. The Gladiators are grouping up around it, and that's going to force a response out of the Ferrymen, to say the very least here. We're doing a bit of an item roundup here. Sodas does need to go back to base to finish up that third item, I'd imagine, before any kind of real fighting goes through. As the Ferryman's mid laner Gunter does have that Charon's coin now stacked up, so that's the percent pen to deal with some of these tankier front lines. The Azrael hasn't really had much of an opportunity to get into some of these fights. Typically by the time that Azrael has joined the fights, they're surrounded by usually Maskill and Listemics, and then it's basically dead at that point. But we're starting to get to the point where Azrael should be able to start jumping in. I mean, now 3 items deep with a full magic defense. Sotos shouldn't be eliminating him anymore.
Yeah, you should be able to take a little bit more damage before, like getting burned down completely. And so I expect to see more presence from Cerberus, which, look, if you're the Ferryman, more teamfight presence isn't necessarily what you needed, but it's more than welcomed, right? I mean, you are thrashing the Gladiators in a lot of these, like, equal number engagements that are teamfight neutral territory. And so I think that if you get a big Cerberus that can jump in, burn beads on some people, open up opportunities for Okeanos, vice versa, for Ice, either way, it's just going to be a good team presence from the Ferryman that, once again, I think is going to threaten the Gladiators. And it's not quite as dominant as it was last game, but I do still think that this is a team fight that is going to be a menacing threat for the Gladiators. They have to be careful how they get aggressive. And once again, I go back to game number 1 conversation. I need to see Mastkill be able to get in, get some pressure onto the back line without losing their life in the process, which is much easier said than done here. The damage that Gunter does, the damage that Streak Up does, even in a 1v1, Mastkill is going to be threatened by it.
Mastkill even changing up their build compared to the last 3 times that we've seen Mastkill, where it was the Jotuns and the stone cutting sword, serrated, and then one of the robes after. Now a bit of a change out, just more raw damage. A Brawler's Beat Stick, second item. And then going in towards that Spike Gauntlet. So Bloodforge potentially on the mind here by Mastkill. Level 17 on the Fenrir, a 3-2-2, though they started out as a 3-0. So Mastkill hasn't been able to have that same level of impact. If we do look at the player damage charts, though, we can see that Mastkill is where that Discordia passive has been for the majority of this game. So Mastkill can find a pick. Could be big here for the Gilded Gladiators, but even still, with only this small 2K gold lead, the Gilded Gladiators can't really find much of anything.
Yeah, especially not when your Fenrir ult gets used for no relics in response. Like, just distance from the Styx Ferryman. That makes things a lot easier for you. I like the brawlers, though. If I'm looking over there and I'm seeing the Chiron, who is, got, at least last game, got away with barely any health several times and was able to heal themselves up just slightly from their own passive, but also the Chalk. Yeah, I want that. I want to try and shut them down a little better.
Azrael only tries to grab one, and it is Mastkill who's got to leap away. Centaur's shots need to be on the mark, but it's Okeanos instead with the ultimate to start up here for the Ferrymen. First kill of the fight goes their way, and now it's a retreat from the Gladiators. As soon as they lost Mastkill, it was a disengage from the Gladiators, and now that gives the opportunity for the Ferrymen to get aggressive to the left. But Ice will eat some damage in this mid lane. He will heal a lot of that back up, though, with the Rainstorm.
And I mean, this is where things go wrong. You've lost your jungler. Listemics is taking way too much damage.
Whoa, Listemics makes it out thanks to the help of a shell. Toddy walks back in, but has to use the ult to get away from Okeanos' pull back in. All 5 of the Ferrymen are alive, are grouped up here. Could make their way over towards this Oni Fury. No ultimates up on the side of the Gladiators to steal this one away. It's just going to come down to who's got the better initial secure out here. Rotwin walking up. Toddy here as well. Please, Lord, do not let a Fafnir steal away an Oni Fury with just a hammer. Just walk up and body block it if you can. Somebody, please. Ferryman will get the Oni Fury. Maybe even Rotwin. But Rotwin is going to be fairly tanky. Will just walk out.
Yeah, that's, again, you've got good damage. At that point, you had mentioned it, but with all ults on cooldown, like Gunter's basic abilities are probably going to be like the Bone Rush is probably your best damage that you had. And it is what secures it. Still maybe a little too close for comfort. I like the response from Gilded Gladiators immediately surging over towards the Pyro, but they need to start it up. And I think they have a good window of opportunity to be able to scoop that one away. Downside, pressure in terms of lanes, all going in favor of the Ferrymen. Now, Fire Giant? This seems like a risky call.
This is quite risky. That belt to the Berserker is not back up yet. This is just going to come down to the
half.
raw damage of the Gladiators. Fire Giant falling low, but Azrael's here to deter the Ferrymen from going any further. But a lot of them ate about a quarter of their health and poke just from the objective alone. One does go back. That is Ice. And now the Ferrymen have pushed themselves up to get ward pressure.
This is a good position, I think, for the Gladiators, at least being able to showcase that they do have the burn for it. Somewhere, I don't know how, despite going 0-3 over the last few minutes, Mastkill has gotten 2 levels up on Ice since then. So realistically, you're dying a ton, but you're getting something. You've got 2 levels there in terms of the solos. Solastimics, despite getting melted and absolutely shredded earlier in that last fight, I think good presence. Both relics up for your mid laner and your carry still. So Gilded Gladiators still in a position where they can fight. It's just whether or not they feel comfortable trying to do so. And obviously they're fine trying to pull it, but they didn't stick around long the minute that the Styx Ferrymen got aggressive. So I really think that, especially with the relics all coming up here for the Ferrymen, you're in a much more precarious position, right? I think the Ferrymen are in a better spot to try and pull the FG. They're in a better spot to win a team fight. They're in a better spot to continue to try and find a lead and push this map state into their favor. But the Gilded Gladiators have good response to that, right? And so I think that there's this ebb and flow of how this fight's going to go, that if the Gladiators try to start it off, there's a significant chance things go downhill almost immediately. But if they wait for the Ferrymen to just make one misstep, then they're going to be able to surge forward, capitalize on that, and turn it into a big team fight win.
You have a fairly even game here. 23.5 minutes in, it's only 1,000 gold separating these two teams. And it hasn't gotten much bigger than that. I mean, 2,500, as you can see at the bottom, is the largest gold lead that we have seen so far here in this third game of play. The Styx Ferrymen, they've been able to push themselves up. They do have the ward pressure. And Okeanos will at least throw some damage over to the Fire Giant, though. No commit from the rest of the Ferrymen. A leap out by Azrael instead. Some heavy damage being thrown over towards Rotwind, even throwing down the rain now by Ice to slow the Gladiators down. But still no Fire Giant pull just yet.
It's that weird conversation. How much damage, how much burn, how much confirm do you have? Not a lot for either of these squads. With Okeanos, I think the burn is going to exist. It's just trying to get the FG in a coin toss right here. No, you don't want to lose that. And that's the awkward thing. I think if either of these teams had a much more substantial lead, then it feels a little bit better to try and pull the FG. But at this point, if you leave it to a coin toss, you're pretty much just saying heads or tails, are we going to win this game off of it? Because one team fight, one FG buff right here with the timers getting to where they are. You run down mid, you knock down a tier 2, there's still 2 towers standing, but you don't need to worry about it. 30-second death timers, usually enough to work with to burn through those towers. And at minimum, you'd get a Phoenix. At best, you'd be able to kill off the Titan. So I think you have to be very careful with how you get aggressive. And that means looking at where certain people are going to go. Mastkill has to get aggressive, use that ult. Everybody has beads, and they're all off cooldown. So even if you pick someone up, they're going to get out of there. Azrael, same kind of circumstance, except you might be able to pull Rotwind. And that might be the key factor. If you can get rid of a single frontliner on the side of the Gladiators, you showcased earlier, you can burn through less Stimix, a couple more tanky items, specifically the Spirit Robe now online, so maybe a little harder now to try and burn through the RDO. But one kill onto Rotwind means it's a lot easier as a 5-man grouping to surge forward onto the FG.
And all 5 of the Gladiators, one at Azrael. That would be a blink down for the solo laner of the Ferrymen. Gladiators really wanted that kill, but a good call out by Okeanos, recognizing that everybody on the Gladiators was walking towards that lane. Sure, it does suck losing out on your blink there for Azrael, but getting out with your life may be a little bit more important. Jump in by Mastkill and by Rotwind. Will pick up Ice. That's going to be the beads out of the Chalk. Half health on the jungler, and an ultimate out of Okeanos in response. Won't find a whole lot of damage, about 200 at most, on the lowest target out of all of them. The 6 Ferrymen, they do hold off the Gladiators, if only for another moment. But Gore, we've been seeing a lot of Spirit Robe as of recent. In fact, this game alone, we're already seeing 3 of them.
Yeah, CCR, as it turns out, really helpful. I think there's a lot of good stats on Spirit Robe, but when it comes down to getting crowd control reduction, especially in a game like this, it's going to be very helpful. Plus, you get percent damage mitigation whenever you get hit by a hard CC. So not only are you getting out of it faster, but you're able to survive through it longer. I think that Spirit Rope, like, it's just a good item, man. And when you look at all of the CC that is available for both squads, yeah, it's going to be very helpful. Makes sense that we're seeing it a little more heavy-handed on the Gladiators, though, because Azrael, Ice, Gunter, Okeanos, all going to have some CC that can proc that. And so it's going to be a little more helpful for them. And I think that's going to cause some trouble for the Ferrymen during some of these fights, at least in trying to burn down the frontliners.
Okeanos does dash away in time to get away from the strife out of Sotos. The Fire Giant was started up, but not really the main priority here for the Gladiators. This ever-long dance around this major objective. We see it time and time again in these games. Pyromancer is back on the map. That's how long we've been fighting around fire, is that the Pyro has respawned itself now. Gladiator should be able to take that one unless it gets stolen out by a stray ability from the Ferryman. It will not be so. Gladiators get another small objective. And all this fighting around this objective, specifically this Fire Giant, has been able to net the Gladiators a little bit of extra farm. They've been able to pump themselves up a little bit more in gold. Ultimate out of the mid laner goes through. It's only going to catch out Toddy, who's not too concerned, though. Centaurus shots onto Sotos, doing a whole lot of damage. Sotos will fall low, but not low enough. Maskill has to leap on away. Okeanos, though, picks up Rotwind, throws him right back up to Streak Up. Now get a transformation, but meanwhile in the backline, Azrael goes down to Toddy. Ultimate out of Okeanos, and a jump in by Rotwind. Streak Up, Beads and Aegis already down. The Cairo with no ult means that they're going down. Toddy picks up the double kill in the team fight. Now fighting up against the two frontliners through. Sotos throws out some damage, but Toddy is going to be fine. He used the ult against one. Okeanos is falling low. Toddy finds the triple kill up against them. Gunter falling low. Toddy running in. Toddy misses the sword throw at the end, so Rotwind will clean it up, but that's 4 down for the 6 Ferrymen. And Gore, who cares about the Fire Giant? The Gladiators can just end the game.
I mean, that is exactly what, and we talk about Europe a lot, but that's the problem with waiting for a lot of these late game team fights, is you get to this point where now it's Ice versus 5 to try and defend this. I have to give a shout out though to Maskill. Maskill gets to the backline very early in that fight.
Whoa.
Ice is doing damage.
Ice gets a lot of damage out there, but it's not enough to take down any of the Gladiators. All 5 still stand. And at the end of it all, it's the Gladiators who stand tall. Azrael goes through, but that ult is just too little, too late. Gilded Gladiators, again, in one late game team fight, win the game.
And I think deja vu, almost. I mean, it's not exactly the same route to success because Maskill had to go in and then get out very quickly, but immediately jumps in onto the backliners, forces them to feel uncomfortable onto Gunter and Streak Up. They separate a little bit, and then all of a sudden you've got the Styx Ferrymen, like 5-man spread from like tier 1 to tier 1 line in the mid lane, and all of the Gladiators able to just absorb 1, then 2, then 3, and kind of chomp down like they're Pac-Man going down the lane. It just really opened things up. You get a really clean triple kill from the Heimdall as well, so it looks really good for Toddy, but I think the damage numbers from the jungle, the damage out of mid, it just felt really solid for what the Gladiators had, and if you wait for a late game team fight and they have the advantage they had, they're going to be able to push that effort into what we saw. A nice win.
Well, congrats to the Gilded Gladiators on a 2-1 win here in this set. We'll take it to a quick break, and then we'll come back to break down the set and get you guys set up for the next one. and welcome back to the desk. Gore threw me off right here because he didn't point it out, and now that I've seen it, I can't unsee it. The Gilded Gladiators logo is actually left-handed.
He's a left-handed sword
for a gladiator. I knew it. I've never picked up on that until Gore brought it out here. But talking about the Gilded Gladiators here, a win in game number 3 brings them a win in the set up against the Styx Ferrymen. And it was basically a repeat from game number 1. You know, some early pressure out of the Gladiators. Yep. A small response that came out of the Ferrymen. And then it basically sits there and does absolutely nothing for a moment. The only difference that changed, I mean, let's be real. Basically nothing happened. An objective here, an objective there. The only difference is that the Ferrymen didn't get like a 9K gold lead in like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And then lose the game. It was just we fought in mid lane instead of at a left Phoenix. And then the Gilded Gladiators win.
It was a lot less back and forth, right? Like Gladiators pull a lead, and then that lead was there pretty much the rest of the game. Like it was like almost 2K the entire time. I think you had called it like 2,500 was where it had capped, and the entire chart was in their favor. They were always the ones kind of leading the way in terms of objectives. You know, every now and then, let's say a Pyromancer or a Fury or something would go the way of the Styx Ferrymen, and it felt like they had some good fight back, and I was looking forward to their team fight. But by the time they get to a team fight stage, they just separate in a non-conducive to winning strategy is the best way I can describe it. They are just separated way too far. It allows Mass Kill to go big and specifically get the CC onto people. It's this fight right here where Toddy just gets to pick up a ton, but look at how separated that is. I mean, you've got Azrael way away from the carries, way away from the rest of the team, so there's no way to save them. And the same thing was the case. Mass Kill, while Toddy's running this train on them, is just able to jump into the back, absolutely do, you know, damage to the backliners, get relics, things like that, and all of a sudden they have no safety anymore. So by the time the rest of the team from the Gladiators is surging forward, kill after kill after kill, it's just easier to continue picking them up.
And maybe now Toddy's stamping himself in there as EU players that you might not want to give Heimdall over to, going along the lines of E-Chrome, Spudio, and Vaporish Coast now amongst there. That's pretty... God, I'm only missing 2 hunters that would round out the full SEC because I'm pretty sure all 3 of those ones are on teams right now here with them. So adding in there, I guess Streak Up is one, you know, obviously one of the ones in there, but he didn't play the Heimdall this time, so we can't throw the name out there. But yeah, this Heimdall pick that these EU hunters really like going over towards now, kind of as this flex third pick, really has kind of stamped itself to being a major threat here in this region.
It's got exactly what you need. It's got safety so you can survive. You've got CC immunity in your ult, so in the event that your beads are down, there's, again, more survivability on there. And he's got good damage, right? Good setup, good vision. He brings a lot to the table for the team fights because all of a sudden you can see all around you. You're going for a Gold Fury. Oh, hey, there's a guy going for a steal. We'll just kill him before this happens, things like that. And so even though he's not like the top of the meta, I feel like Europe, and going back to that, it is a good call for them, and I honestly wouldn't be upset seeing it maybe in some of the other reasons, honestly, even in the SBL sometimes, because I think that when you have a good, even just adept, like, hey, you're going to do decent, you're just playing Heimdall, your goal is to not die and to deal damage, most of the time you're able to do that.
Well, that was only our first set of the day, and only the first EU set that we will see for the remainder of the week. Let's take a look at the schedule to see what all is still in store for us over here in the European region with our first one done with the Gilded Gladiators on a 2-1. That means we'll have the Niflheim Wargs up against the Highland Ravens for our second match of today over in Europe. And then tomorrow, before the SPL, make sure you tune in to catch our third EU set, which will be the Aru Scorpions up against Hex Mambo. But we got a long day ahead of us out here. I mean, this is our first of 2 EU, but only our first of 4 sets that are going to be out here, Gore. We've also got 2 NA sets that are going to come up right after these.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch those as well. Again, last week, NA ended up being a little more close, I want to say, all going 3. This is the first EU set that went 3 that we've seen in the SEC so far. So maybe it's Europe warming up a little bit and North America was already on fire. Either way, I think it's going to be really exciting, especially this next one, because I think both of these teams, the Wargs and the Ravens, are very, again, just very accomplished teams, very big names on both squads. And honestly, if I remember correctly, I think both 2-0'd last week, so this is going to make it even more interesting because somebody's going to have to lose.
Yeah, this is going to be a bloodbath in this next one. 2 really powerful teams on the side between the Wargs and the Ravens. That one's going to be coming up right after the break, so stick around and we will be right back.